President Shi, before we begin today's meeting, I'd like to read a brief safety announcement. Good evening. Welcome to the April 25th, 2024 board meeting. Before we start the meeting, I would like to share a few safety points and notes. Please note that the primary exit and entrance to this auditorium is the door which you used to enter this evening. If you are leaving the room, please use this door. The restrooms are just outside the entrance door to your immediate left and right. During the meeting, we ask that you keep all aisles and exits clear. If you need any assistance during the meeting, please waive the attention of one of our security officers. Thank you for joining us tonight. President Shi, we are now ready for you to begin the meeting.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to the Chicago Board of Education meeting. Today is April 25th, 2024, and we are holding today's meeting in the auditorium, Chicago Vocational High School at 2100 East 87th Street. I'd like to note that board members and senior leadership are physically present in the auditorium. Registered speakers may join us in person or virtually if they opt to do so. Observers are here also in person. My name is John Ann Shi. On behalf of my fellow board members, thank you for joining us today. The regular board meeting of Thursday, April 25th, 2024 is hereby called to order. Board Secretary, please call the roll.
Thank you, President Shi. Member Fahey Hughes, who is joining us virtually via Zoom.
Here.
Member Lozano.
Here.
Vice President Todd Breland.
Here.
Member Woods.
Here.
President Shi.
Here.
5 members present. We do have a quorum. I'd also like to recognize Pedro Martinez, Chief Executive Officer, Ruchi Verma, General Counsel, Bogdana Shukumbova, Chief Education Officer, Charles Mayfield, Chief Operating Officer, and Caitlin Shaw, Honorary Student Board Member. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're excited to be here today and be hosting our meetings in the community. This is our 3rd meeting in the community this school year, with more planned in the future. I know Vice President Todd Breland has had the opportunity to host office hours here last week, and in a moment, we'll hear from her. But before that, I'd like to offer space for our gracious host and the principal of the school, Principal Douglas Macklin, and Alderman. Okay. Okay.
I like that. Thank you. Thank you. President Shi, Vice President Todd Breland, and all the board, we are so honored to have you here. It gives us a great opportunity to kind of highlight some of our school accomplishments and achievements and celebrate a little bit. This work is hard. It is absolutely hard, but we have had tremendous support. We have our CEO and our CNO here. I remember, CEO, you came in, one of your first stops was here at CVS, and you said you were going to support us, and you have certainly been a man of your word and helped us create the opportunities we have for our kids. This is my 13th year as principal here at CVS. I am the longest standing principal here in history. There has never been a principal here at CVS longer than 13 years. And so I am very proud to have this be such a big part of my career, my accomplishments as a principal. Just to highlight a couple of things, just so you know, this is the first time in 30 years, 3 decades, that my school is both a commendable school by the state and good standing by the city. So we have worked extremely hard to get that done. My wonderful team, my teachers, my assistant principal, Dr. Taylor, my assistant principal, Russell Williams, and the whole team has made that happen. And we are seeing a tremendous growth. Last year, we had 76% of all of our seniors graduating with a post-secondary credential. This year, we are poised, after we disaggregate that data, to almost 100% of our seniors graduating with a post-secondary credential. We got very unique in the fact that we are a vocational school with 7 offerings, but we are also an early college STEM school as well. So these kids in the neighborhood school like CVS can get any opportunity that they can think of. They have it right here at our house, at the V, at the Palace, at the most beautiful school on the Southeast side. And we are just excited for you to just be here to acknowledge that. I wanted to also say my network chief, Myron Hesser, has been so supportive of us. But I would be remiss if I did not take this small opportunity, and then I'm done, to acknowledge our Alderman Michelle Harris of the 8th Ward. She has been a solid support of our school. She has used TIF dollars to allocate money to get our pool up and running. We just had a meeting yesterday. $5.4 million Alderman Harris has set aside to get our pool up and running. She has been instrumental in helping us lobby to work with other community-based organizations, Chicago Family Health Centers, so we can have our own school-based health clinic here. And not only are we supporting the kids and the parents of our school, but the broader community to help address the healthcare disparity on the Southeast side. She has been amazing in every single way. And so if we just could, I just would like to just acknowledge all the wonderful work that she has done for our school. She is a wonderful, and she's an alumni. She's an alumni as well. So, you know, other than that, again, thank you and welcome. We're so honored to have you here. If there's anything, come back, host another meeting here too. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Macklin. I really just want to thank you for your advocacy and support. And I have a feeling you eat your Wheaties every day, right? I love that energy. Thank you so much. I would love if Alderman Harris comes up and shares a few words. And thank you again for all that you do for the community.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the 8th Ward, home of Chicago Vocational Career Academy, or as we call it, CVS. As always, class of 80. I would like to thank the CEO and the board for being here and being a great support for me and never saying no to me and always trying to work through whatever issues I have in this building to help me work through it and find the problems and to solve problems for this building that I love. I've lived here 60 plus years in this community. I've done everything locally. I went to Boucher. I went to CVS, I went to U of I, and then graduated from Chicago State. So I am a community girl at heart. I love this community so much that I bought a house on my dream block next door to my dream neighbor. For those that remember him, what's Mr. LaHoy, who was my graphic arts teacher here, and he became my neighbor for many years. So I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Doug Macklin for being an amazing leader and staying in this space, even when he didn't have to stay in this space, and to the APs who are all here because they love this school and they love this building, and to the staff. I've got some of the most amazing, I call you my staff. I got some of the most amazing staff people and leaders in this building. And again, all of this you get to see because you held a meeting here on the South Side so that we didn't have to pay the park to go downtown. So this building is over 100 years old. It's had some of the best and the brightest come through here, and they've gone on to do some wonderful things. I will hope that we will continue to funnel resources that are needed in this 100-year-old space for our children, that you will continue to allow to work with me by using whatever means necessary financially to get things done in this building. So if we got to use every dollar in the TIF to make sure that this building stays here forever, I'm all in. I'm all in, y'all. I'm all in. For anybody that wants to make sure we stay in this building. I hope this building is around for the 3rd and the 4th generation of CVS students so that they too can come through the amazing doors and learn amazing things in this building. So I am hopeful that we will continue the partnership with our leadership in this building, with the community and anybody else that wants to help keep the doors open at CVS. Because remember, y'all, I'm gonna die and I'm gonna have blue and gold in my blood because of blue and gold has made me of who I am. And I want to say thank you again to the board, and thank you again to the best CEO ever who has really, really worked with me, and the best principal and the best staff and the best LSC on the South Side. Go Cavaliers!
Thank you, Alderman Harris, this is how we should start every board meeting. And again, I appreciate just even our short time, kind of our partnership together to improving our schools. And I got a chance to walk around today before we started, and I got a chance to see you on the Wall of Fame, right? The spirit that I hope we keep and thrive at the school. So, I'd like to turn it over now to Vice President Todd Breland to also share a few words about hosting office hours here last week.
Yes, I'm loving the Cavalier energy in here today. And in my time on the board, actually I remember a school visit I did. I think it was a first day of school visit to CVS. And I was very excited to be able to come back again last week and host office hours with a wide range of people within the school community. So I just want to start also by thanking Principal Macklin for his leadership and welcoming us into the space. And I also want to name some of the people who I had an opportunity to meet with last week, in particular students. I had an opportunity to speak with Noah and Sammy and Gooch and Zabria and Janine. And I want to thank the students for their openness. I want to thank them for sharing, for their candor and sharing their experiences with me. I also had a number of LSC members, parents, and alums, some of whom are all of the above, who I had an opportunity to meet with: Miss Williams, Mr. Morris, Miss Betty Porter, Miss Manuel. I also want to thank the teachers and staff who I had an opportunity to meet with: Miss Anders, Miss Harris, Miss Walls, Mr. Hammond, Attorney Nicholson, Miss Snell, and AP Dr. Taylor. Apologies if I'm missing someone in that list. And then also, as I think everyone knows, CVS has a very strong alumni community. And so I also had a chance to meet with Ms. Perkins from the Alumni Association, and also want to express my gratitude to State Representative Evans, who sat in with us for office hours as well. As we hear today, and I think all of us should know, the Cavalier community is vast and it is strong. I got to learn here last week about the early college STEM school programming with multiple career and technical education pathways here at CVS. I really appreciate it, and I'm sorry for CVCA, I apologize, but it will always be CVS to me. CVCA is preparing students for college and career, with students leaving the school with certificates and credentials. And I think this is important, not just certificates and credentials, but certificates and credentials that are preparing them to have living wage jobs. Starting with connecting students to summer work opportunities. I learned about CVCA's cluster program and how CVCA staff are meeting all students where they are and helping them to grow, about how staff are working hard to meet the needs of newcomer students and longstanding community members and their need for continued support. I heard from students about their appreciation for the focus on social emotional learning and student well-being, and particular praise for the counseling staff, who I want to lift up. Students pointed y'all out. And I also heard about the power of CVCA as a neighborhood school, serving multiple generations of families and students in the community. I also heard that there was a rumor that the school is closing, and I want to be very clear from where we sit, that is not the case. CVCA is not closing. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. And to say that we're actually working very hard to invest in neighborhood schools like CVCA and provide the resources to meet students' needs, which we acknowledge are great. Like Alderwoman Harris said, I invite continued conversations with our government, philanthropic, and business partners about how we can find more funding to support students at CVCA. And I applaud the multiple partnerships with community-based organizations and alumni that the school is already leveraging to support students. Mentioned already was the school-based health clinic, which is meeting the needs of both students and also the surrounding community. And finally, I just wanted to end with just a recognition again of this Cavalier pride. One of the people I met with was Mr. Williams, who's an alum who now works with students in the building. And there was something he said that stuck with me. He said, "This school saved my life." And it was a reminder, I think, of how much schools mean to our young people and to their communities. And so I want to thank the Cavalier family for welcoming us into your house tonight, and we look forward to ongoing partnership.
Thank you, Vice President Todd Breland, for really bringing the richness of the school and sharing it with everyone. Before moving on to the order of the meeting, I'd like to use this time now to honor a longtime member of the CPS family, Mr. Charlie Mills, who passed away last month. Charlie was a teacher assistant at Jones College Prep and a graduate of our very own Kennedy High School. He left an indelible mark in the Jones School community where he's remembered both for his commitment and passion for education, as well as his kindness, patience, and grace. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to speak with Principal Dolan, who is the principal at Jones. She's here today and is joined by Charlie's sister, Josette, and her partner, Bruce, here today to help us honor Charlie's legacy. Principal Dolan and Ms. Balcom, would you like to please come up and say a few words?
I want to begin with sincere gratitude to CEO Martinez, Cito Chukumbava, President Shi, and the members of the Board of Education, both for reaching out to communicate their condolences and for working with me to pass this resolution in Mr. Charlie Mills' honor. It was a gift to know Charlie Mills. Charlie's essence was one of unwavering consistency and boundless kindness. His steadfast presence transcended mere reliability. It embodied a deep-seated commitment to uplifting and empowering others. Charlie's consistent focus on his work and his community defined his legacy in profound ways. From the outset, it was evident to me that Charlie was not one to seek accolades or recognition. His dedication to Jones and the people in our community was simply a reflection of his innate character and goodness. His presence was a constant source of support and inspiration, exemplifying the true meaning of dedication and kindness. As I've said before and will continue to say, Charlie was the true definition of a servant leader. Throughout our brief time together at Jones, Charlie's compassion and commitment knew no bounds. From the technical intricacies of setting up equipment to the late night hours spent ensuring everything ran smoothly, Charlie's tireless efforts were instrumental in the success of our endeavors. His selflessness extended beyond the realm of professional roles and expectations. It was deeply rooted in his genuine care for others. Moreover, his devotion extended beyond the confines of our school walls. Charlie's support for his family, showing the boundlessness of his sense of responsibility and love, particularly for his mother during her illness, spoke volumes about his selflessness and his priorities. The news of Charlie's untimely and tragic passing sent shockwaves through our community, leaving behind a void that words cannot fully express. Yet amidst the grief, there is solace in knowing that his legacy lives on through the countless lives he touched over the 20+ years he spent in our school and the values he instilled in us all. The outpouring of support and solidarity in the wake of his loss is a poignant reminder of the profound impact he had on those around him. As we mourn the loss of a dear friend and colleague, let us honor Charlie's memory by embodying the same spirit of compassion, dedication, and unity that he so effortlessly personified. Let us strive to build upon the foundation of togetherness and possibility that he so fervently believed in. In doing so, we ensure that Charlie's spirit lives on, not just in our memories, but in the fabric of our community itself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. As Charlie's sister, Charlie was one of the kindest people you would ever meet. He was the most helpful, compassionate. He would help anybody, anytime. If you needed it, he would help you find it. He would go way beyond his means to help anybody. Working with the special needs children, working with the drama department, the music department, all city. He was everywhere in the school system. And I'm honored to be here today, and I'm honored to be with Principal Dolan from Jones. And I thank all the students and staff that he helped. And I would love for his memory to live on in kindness and people being compassionate and just being there for one another. Sometimes just a small word, a kind word, or something simple can mean so much, and it transcends, one person is nice, then another person can be nice, and it just sends ripples throughout the community, the schools, and each other. And that's what we need to aspire to be. We need to be kind. We need to be compassionate. We need to be helpful people, especially in this day and age. And again, I am honored to be here, and thank you.
Thank you. And as you can see, Charlie had such a significant impact on the Jones College Prep students, staff, families over the course of his career. It's a reminder that kindness is free. Thank you. So now I want to share the order of the meeting today. It will be honoring excellence, CETO remarks, CEO remarks, committee updates, announcements, discussion of public agenda items, vote on public agenda items, public participation, and adjourn, and then we will adjourn. For those of you familiar with our typical order of meetings, we typically vote on agenda items after public participation. Some of our board members will need to leave our meeting a little early, so we moved up our voting on the agenda so we can ensure that we have the requisite number of board members present. We thank you for your flexibility. CETO Chukumbova, please proceed with honoring excellence and CETO remarks.
Thank you, President Shi, and good evening, everyone. I am also delighted to be here at the Chicago Vocational Community Academy with all of you on the far south side. This month, it is our pleasure to welcome members of the far south side CAC who are a beacon of empowerment and collaboration in their community. Before we discuss their great work, though, I want to take a moment to remember the late Dr. Joyce Chapman, the former chair of the Far South Side CAC and a former member of the Chicago Board of Education. Joyce dedicated her life to empowering the residents in her community, and her legacy of service lives on through the current members and their work here at the Far South Side. These members are experts at engaging, empowering, and connecting stakeholders, and creating a nurturing environment where educational excellence can flourish. Their diverse membership includes parents, elected officials, faith leaders, healthcare providers, and more, reflecting their commitment to transformative and community-driven change. Far South Side CAC members have served as the proud hosts of numerous education-focused events, including principal breakfasts, peace rallies, Black History Month celebrations, family engagement resource fairs, and LSC luncheons. These events bring people together, creating that space for connection, for celebration and empowerment, while serving as catalysts for positive change within the Far South Side community. The Far South Side CAC also plays a pivotal role in strategizing around educational improvement. From reviewing school data to inform academic initiatives, to facilitating recruitment for LSC elections, they're constantly going above and beyond to enhance the educational landscape in this community. We are grateful for the job this CAC has done, empowering stakeholders, fostering dialogue, and also driving positive change in the education space. This evening, we are pleased to welcome several members from the Far South CAC, including Vice Chair Marcus Flano, CAC Parliamentarian and Strategic Education Plan Committee Chair, Dr. Carmen Palmer, and Legislative Chair Sharon Pincham, each of whom now would like to share a few words with the board and the public.
Good evening. First off, residents of Chicago, esteemed parents, board members, I am so honored to stand here to represent the Far South CAC and our members. I am also a CPS alum, a proud parent of a CPS alumni, and founding member, proud representative, and current co-chair of the Far South Community Action Council, a beacon for collaboration and empowerment on behalf of students and families on the Far South Side. We are passionately dedicated to fostering quality education in Chicago Public Schools through engagement, empowerment, and collaboration. We recognize that parents are the cornerstone of a child's education, which is why we are committed to nurturing strong connections between families, educators, and community stakeholders. Parent engagement isn't merely a buzzword. We have been engaging parents since 2013. Parent engagement serves as a potent catalyst for positive change. When parents are actively involved, students flourish. They exhibit higher academic performance, attendance rates, and improved behavior. Our diverse membership, inclusive of community-based organizations, parents, elected officials, faith-based organizations, underscores our dedication to inclusivity and community-driven change. When parents and residents are actively engaged, our schools thrive and our communities prosper. With our dedicated members leading the charge, we pledge to continue prioritizing parent engagement and advocating for equitable funding for our community. Together, we are one band, one sound, as Joyce would say, that is building, strengthening, and supporting our schools block by block. We are the Far South Community Action Council, and our commitment to educational excellence knows no bounds. Thank you.
Well, it is quite a treat to be here. It is always a pleasure to be in the schoolhouse led by our dynamic principal. I did not graduate from CBCA, but Dr. G and I have it right there next to my heart and our alma mater. So with that said, I'm going to go into my presentation, and each of the board members should have a copy. If not, our CEDO promised that she would make sure you got one. Okay, and so with that said, this statement is a salute to the Far South CAC Chair Emeritus, Dr. Joyce Chapman. One of her many visions was an annual Far South CAC Principal Breakfast. The Strategic Education Plan Education Committee, composed of myself as chair, Dr. Lois Gano, co-chair, Deacon Kenneth Samuels, Mrs. Sharon Pincham, Ms. Sherry Miles, and Mr. Mordecai Funges are the members, and serve every year would survey our principals via a written survey that was completed and collected at each of the principals' Far South CAC breakfasts. After 10 years, and we're into our 11th actually, after 10 years of compiling data provided by our instructional leaders during our annual principals breakfast event.
Right here, babe.
Should I continue?
Please continue.
Oh, okay, thank you. The Far South CAC Strategic Education Plan Education Committee began to receive repeated entries of information from our principals. When data begins to repeat itself, it suggests that the needs have been exhausted. The purpose of this data is to help guide and inform us on developing a data-driven strategic education plan. The top 3 greatest needs by our instructional leaders were identified. Those needs were and are: first, parent and community engagement. Second, funding. Surprise, surprise. Third, specific funding for programs and services. The results of the principal surveys over the years are in alignment with research. Research supports the principal's identification of needs. Research shows that 1, regardless of social economic status or ethnicity, when parents are involved in their children's schooling, students show higher academic achievement, increased school engagement, improved behavior, and increased graduation rates. Secondly, additional funding for underperforming schools to promote vertical equity would improve students' academic outcomes if it is distributed directly to the underperforming schools and used to provide new academic programs to the students. Third, research shows a positive association between students' usage of special on-campus support services and their persistence within the academic institution. Parent coordinators who can engage parents by providing a variety of activities and frequent occasions to fully involve parents, including providing parenting support, increasing communication with parents, creating volunteer opportunities, supporting learning at home, encouraging parents to be a part of the decision-making in schools, and collaborating are among the ways that funding the position of a parent coordinator in each school could benefit the students' performance, attendance, behavior, and increase the graduation rate dramatically. In closing, the findings of the survey support the need for funding specifically for parent coordinators in each school and 2, more programs and services as identified on the attached Far South CAC Strategic Education Plan overview, which is on the back. So this is a grid of what was repeatedly identified, and as we continue to survey, our educators and our instructional leaders are telling us what research tells us. So it is my hope that this magnificent board will help bring into light the voices of the instructional leaders that we entrust our schools to. And thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for attending the evening. Thank you for your meaningful work. Now I would like to turn it over to Board Member Lozano for comments.
Good evening. The Far South CAC provides support to CPS schools on the Far South Side through engaging, empowering, and connecting stakeholders that include a diverse group such as LSC members, business leaders, educators, school administrators, residents, and students. I want to commend the Far South CAC and Far South community for being an example to our city and district on demonstrating the importance of community and stakeholder engagement. The critical role that our parents, community leaders, and students play in our schools is vital to our overall cities and communities' success. It is clear, as we just heard, that your Community Action Council is informing and engaging the Far South Side community. I also want to acknowledge the late Dr. Joyce Chapman, former Board of Education member and chairperson of the Far South Side CAC, who dedicated herself to improving the quality of life for all Chicagoans and in particular residents from the South Side. May her example and leadership continue to be a guide for us all in our mission to bring equity and justice to our city. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to quickly take this moment, being here and seeing you all, of course, makes me think of my former co-board member, Dr. Joyce Chapman. And I also can't let this moment pass without lifting up some incredible students I spent the morning with on the Far South Side of Chicago today. So I spent my morning in Altgeld Gardens this morning and had a couple school visits. And one of those, the students in both of them were just amazing. And I just want to take a moment to speak on them because y'all are here today. I was first at Carver High School where Principal Rouse welcomed me, and I had an opportunity to speak with some amazing young women who presented to me their student-led CIWP work. And I mean student-led. They showed me their color-coded SMART goals. They told me the process and everything that they were doing to hit the goals that they wanted to achieve for their school that year, really demonstrating, I think, both student voice and action. And then after that, I had the opportunity to go to Aldridge Elementary School, where Principal Badu welcomed me, and I had an opportunity to visit today, which is during their Peace Week of activities. And as part of their Peace Week activities today, it included the unveiling of a mural of the Altgeld community, and particularly of Ms. Hazel Johnson, the mother of environmental justice. And Ms. Cheryl Johnson was there as well, who's still the executive director of People for Community Recovery. And after that, the students presented for all of us who were there, their own student-generated plan for their community. So they've been working with partnerships with the Field Museum, with Miss Eleanor there. I want to shout out their amazing teacher, Miss Mayo, who has been working with them. They created an entire replica of their community, put all the things that they believe need to be in their community in preparation for the extension of the Red Line. And it was inspiring. And I know that they've already presented this work for the CTA. We were there today. They continue to do this, but I just want to lift up the solutions to the problems in our society that live within our students and that they're already presenting to us, and to lift up that work, particularly happening on the far South Side, and think about how we can all work more to enact their visions, because they are truly transformational visions. So thank you.
Mr. President, I'm continuing with my report. But thank you for uplifting two of our schools. These are just two examples of so many of the fabulous work our students, our staff are doing in all of our schools. And this month, we also had celebrated two groups of CPS employees who are absolutely essential to the success of our schools. These are our assistant principals and our school clerks. Let's start with our APs, who are often the ones operating behind the scenes to make sure the schools run smoothly. They're also the primary source of support for our school principals. APs also serve as listening ears for the families and sounding boards for the teachers and support staff in their buildings. History has taught us that having an AP in place can make a tremendous difference for every school community. And this is why, as part of the next year's CPS budget, every school is receiving a centrally funded assistant principal position, no matter the type of school they are. Similarly, every school will receive funding from the district for a school clerk, who we know do a remarkable job as a liaisons between our educators and the larger community. Our clerks have an amazing can-do attitude. The word no just does not exist in their vocabulary. And they are always willing to roll up their sleeves and help where they're needed. They also play a major role in creating a welcoming and inclusive cultures in our schools, and are wonderful at building trusting relationships with students and also the families. I hope that both our clerks and assistant principals were made to feel valued and appreciated this month, because our schools would not be the amazing places they are without their hard work and presence. I will now want to move on to share more information about the district's second annual Mental Health Summit, which drew students from more than 25 CPS high schools at Malcolm X College last weekend. The purpose of this summit is to remove the stigma around mental health and to provide students and staff with tools and techniques they can use to manage stress and other issues surrounding social and emotional health. Topics included time management, drug education, developing resilience, and the connection between social media and mental health, among many others. Many of these workshops were student-led, giving our young people valuable experience in developing both their communication and leadership skills. I want to thank the Office of Student Health and Wellness for providing our students with this valuable opportunity, especially as many of them are juggling multiple end-of-the-year priorities, including studying for final exams, looking for summer jobs, and making critical decisions about their futures. Our hope is that students will take these lessons, the lessons they learned at the summit, and use them to spread awareness about the importance of mental health in their school communities, as well as advocate for each other's well-being. Now moving on to our young learners, pre-K. As our high school students look forward to future beyond the district, our youngest learners are just beginning their CPS journey by entering in our pre-K program. At last month's board meeting, we talked about the impressive gains our early learners are making in the area of literacy. This is due in large part to the expansion of free full-day preschool in every neighborhood in Chicago. Applications for the next year's full and also half-day pre-K programs opened on April 9th, and I'm pleased to report that we already have nearly 7,500 applications. Our free full-day preschool programs are open to all 4-year-olds in the city, while our free half-day programs are open to both 3- and 4-year-olds. This first round of applications will close on Tuesday, April 30th, and families will receive their pre-K offers on Wednesday, May 22nd. Any family who applies to pre-K programs after the April 30th deadline will receive offers on a rolling basis beginning Thursday, May 23rd. Families can register for pre-K at chicagoearlylearning.org or call the application hotline at 312-229-1690 for application assistance in English and Spanish. I now would like to thank the many CPS schools that found unique and educational ways to help our students celebrate Earth Day earlier this week. At Brannaman, Dewey, Lyon, Webster, and many other schools, students gathered with their families, teachers, and members of the larger community to beautify their schools. This work included weeding, mulching, making bird feeders, and planting flowers around each school's campus. Some of our schools also incorporated art into their Earth Day projects by allowing students to decorate outdoor planters with murals of their own creation. Other CPS communities, including Clark and McCutcheon elementary schools, went beyond the boundaries of their schools, celebrating Earth Day by hosting cleanup projects throughout their neighborhoods. I also want to thank schools that took time this Earth Day to teach our children about protecting the environment, as well as the many CPS communities that gave children a once-in-a-generation chance to experience a unique scientific wonder earlier this month. I'm talking, of course, about the total solar eclipse that caught the attention of everyone in the afternoon of April 8th. CPS schools around the city seized the opportunity to teach our children about this phenomenon and to shepherd them outdoors to make projects and also to take a protected glimpse at the sky. Our Department of STEM Education provided schools with comprehensive resources to make this unique experience a fully teachable moment. I thank all the teachers who ran with this opportunity academically, incorporating the eclipse into instruction across multiple content areas. For some students, that meant using their creativity to create images of the eclipse in art class. For others, it meant graphing the trajectory through the geometry or studying Shakespeare's writing on this celestial phenomenon. I want to thank our community partners, including the Adler Planetarium, for providing eclipse glasses to dozens of CPS schools so that our students can enjoy the experience. When they took back on their time with us, I hope that our students will remember April 8, 2024 as a magical, memorable part of their CPS experience. This concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we transition, I'd just like to, again, thank the Far South CAC for presenting their plan. You know, a lot of this is already in progress, and I urge everyone, especially the Far South CAC, to attend our strategic planning forums, where a lot of these ideas can be driven. CEO Martinez, we're ready for your remarks.
Thank you, President Shi. And again, I also want to just thank Principal Macklin and the amazing staff at Chicago Vocational High School for all the supports of your students. Every event that I go to where we're celebrating students, whether it's apprenticeships, early college opportunities, there's always representation from from our students from this high school, and that's because of the staff and our principal that we have here. So thank you. I want to, starting my remarks, I want to start by thanking the thousands of CPS families who visited our schools earlier this month to participate in parent-teacher conferences, picking up report cards and casting their votes in the local school council elections. It is critical that schools and parents work together to educate our students. And that's exactly what happens when families and educators take time to connect. It is also essential that parents have a voice in who will represent them on their LSCs. So we appreciate everyone who made voting in these elections a priority. To the thousands of staff, parents, and community members who ran for seats on their LSCs, I thank you for willing to give up so much of your time and talent to the CPS communities. In such a large school district, it is critical that we have local experts who can advise CPS in the unique needs of schools, and this is what we have in our LSCs. In our LSC elections 2 years ago, we saw an unprecedented interest in parents, staff, and students wanting to run for the local LSC. Our goal was to build on that momentum going into this election cycle, which is why CPS launched a landmark community engagement campaign that included participating in 177 events where we shared information about running for LSC. We also opened the application window 6 weeks earlier than in past elections for LSC candidates and conducted an extensive marketing campaign on radio, billboard, and CTA vehicles and trains. The numbers are still being finalized, but I'm excited, board members, to report that the enthusiasm remained high for this year's elections. We expect that by July 1, more than 95% of LSCs will have enough members to conduct business. Our goal is obviously to have 100% functioning councils, and our Office of LSC Relations will continue to work with our schools that have vacancies to recruit more people to fill their open seats. So please tell your friends, tell your neighbors, we still have some open seats out there. We look forward to celebrating our newly elected LSC members at the LSC inauguration on Saturday, June 29th at my alma mater, Benito Juarez High School. I'm now going to move to the ongoing community forums that are now underway regarding the shaping of our district's next 5-year strategic plan. I want to thank everyone who's attended these meetings thus far. We appreciated your candid feedback on the direction that you feel CPS should be headed moving forward. This feedback is incredibly valuable as we plan our future of the district as it continues to take shape. I urge anyone who has not attended a forum to consider joining us for one of the 3 remaining sessions: Wednesday, May 1st, from 6 to 8 at Corliss High School, Thursday, May 2nd at Roosevelt High School, and then we will also have a one on Wednesday, May 8th. That'll be at 10 a.m. in the morning from 10 to noon at Richards Academy, and this final session will be actually held in Spanish. Please visit cps.edu/5-year plan for complete details to register. Now I want to touch on a very sensitive topic, one of a couple sensitive topics on where we stand in regards to bus transportation for next school year. This still remains a challenging subject for our district, especially with the continued bus driver shortage around the country. But I want families to know that we are not giving up. We are aggressively exploring new options for the new school year, including extending pickup locations for students and adjusting bell times at schools. We're also in regular communications with the Illinois Secretary of State, helping drivers to obtain so that we can get more help to help our drivers obtain a commercial driver's license, a CDL, more easily. We've asked them to provide more testing dates and to make sure that all testing materials are available in both English and Spanish. We're also urging the Secretary of State to waive the under the hood section of the commercial driver's license exam. While it's important for certain commercial vehicles, the section is not necessary to operate a safe school bus, and waiving it would remove a barrier faced by many of our potential drivers. The newest efforts to build on what CPS has already done this past year. So we've done so far today, we've raised the wages of bus drivers to between $22 and $27 an hour, providing also signing bonuses for new drivers. We're partnering with city agencies, including the Department of Family and Support Services, to offer flexible schedules for part-time drivers. We're recruiting new drivers at nearly 50 job fairs. We're advertising driver positions on the radio, billboards, and CTA buses. We're partnering with community organizations, including the city colleges, to create pipelines that directly connect job seekers with driver opportunities. Let me be clear. We understand what a huge issue transportation is for our families. We will not stop until we've explored every possibility for getting more students on our buses next school year. And to be sure, everyone, we want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information. We will provide monthly updates on our progress from now through the start of the new school year. I'm a parent myself of 2 children. My wife drives my children. It's a 7th grader and a 4th grader every single morning and picks them up every day. She had to choose to take a part-time job instead of a full-time job because, again, we needed to be able to take our children and pick them up. So parents, I know how you feel. Again, we're not going to stop until we explore every single option we have. The last topic I want to talk about is our budget. I want to provide an update on where we are in our annual budget process. As you know, initial school budgets were released to our principals earlier this month. I'm excited that we're using a new, more transparent and more equitable funding level. In years past, our district's model relied mainly on student-based budgeting, where we would allocate a standard dollar amount for every student and then add funding based on each school's unique characteristics and needs. In other words, principals would get a pot of money and they would have to figure out what they could afford. Under the new model, school resources will be allocated in a simpler, more transparent, and more equitable way. For the first time, CPS is setting a foundational standard for what every school deserves in terms of the number of educators and support staff. No matter their type, location, or size, this school year's budget allocates funding for every school to have an assistant principal, at least one counselor, and a number of core teachers to support their students. For example, every elementary school will also have 3 holistic teachers. We have never done this, ladies and gentlemen. 3 holistic teachers, 1 for the arts, 1 for physical education, and 1 that principals can use as a position of their choice. It can be a world language teacher, a STEM specialist, or another type of educator or librarian that meets their school's unique needs. In addition to these core allocations, CPS is making even a greater commitment to equity by using our district's opportunity index, which measures students' access to opportunity to determine an even greater share of school-based funding than in years past. Finally, we continue to include flexible discretionary funds for principals to use on their local priorities, maintaining their autonomy to do what's needed to get to their students a high-quality education. This change has been long in coming. For decades, advocates have rightly protested school funding inequity. I experienced this disparity firsthand as a student and as a graduate of the district. It is why I got into this work to make it better. I still remember, and I say this to my principals all the time, I remember being at Benito Juarez with no advanced place classes that were offered to myself or any of my colleagues, even though we were in the honors program, only to find out when I went to college that students were getting access to these kind of courses all over the city and all over the state. So let us celebrate this change as an important milestone in a long and broad struggle to improve the quality of education for all of Chicago's children, especially those farthest from opportunity. This change also shows why we place such a high value on community engagement. The more voices we have in this process, the better the result. During our budget roundtables, going back to 2020, we heard feedback from many of our school communities that student-based budgeting wasn't working. Smaller vehicles and schools with declining enrollment were stuck in a downward spiral of fewer students and fewer resources. We heard loud and clear that funding should not be based solely on the number of students in the school, but also looking at the needs of the students in the school. Over the past few years, we took steps to increase equity. We gave equity grants for smaller and under-enrolled schools. We even provided additional resources for those schools furthest from opportunity. But despite these improvements, the model was still not working for many schools. Next year's budgets, for the first time, reversed this previous approach. In the past, we started with enrollment and considered equity as one of several factors for additional funding. This year, we started with equity, and we're considering enrollment as one of the several factors for additional funding. The positive impact of this change will be felt across the district, especially by many of our students in our city's south and west sides who live in communities that have endured financial disinvestment too far, too long. These school budgets will take major steps toward correcting that inequity, and that is truly something that we need to celebrate. These budgets establish the fact that educators above all are the heart of our district's mission. I am proud that this budget does not cut a dime from the total amount we spend on school budgets. Some schools may see shifts, but CPS is maintaining the overall level of funding to our schools. In fact, at the end of this process, I think we will have put more funds in school budgets than even we did last year, despite our projected deficit. I'm also proud that even in this challenging financial environment, next year's school budgets keep cuts away from our classrooms as far as possible and prioritize resources for those students who need them the most. Because we're using a new model, it's difficult to make a year-to-year comparison between current school budgets and the budgets for next year. But we can say this: no category of schools, whether they be neighborhood schools, selective enrollment schools, magnet schools, are being disproportionately impacted by this new model. Importantly, our preliminary analysis shows the majority of selective enrollment schools, 5 of which are ranked among the best high schools in the country, according to the U.S. News and World Report, will maintain or improve upon their current number of teachers. Our selective enrollment schools will be able, please let me finish. Our selective enrollment schools will be able to offer robust programming of students, and we're working with individual schools to address questions or concerns. Furthermore, programmatic funding of our selective enrollment schools will be more sustainable going forward because it'll be a standard part of their staffing allocation rather than extra allocations that could be taken away in a future budget cycle. Overall, it's about strengthening our entire system and protecting the strong programming we have across the district. At the end of the process, each school will have the resources to provide a high-quality education that serves the unique needs of their students in their building. I also want to highlight the feedback we're receiving on the new budget model, and it has been largely positive. We're hearing from principals that it's an easier process for them because many of the positions are allocated automatically, and they don't have to spend time figuring out how to pay for these critical roles. Assistant principals, counselors are now standard in every school, reflecting the feedback we heard from our principals. Under the new model, principals can now hire the best teacher for any position without worrying if they can afford the salary. Our principals are now hard at work on next year's budgets, collaborating with their teams and LSCs and the district to make sure they can deliver a high-quality education to the students in their buildings. For our part, CPS is continuing to work with schools to help them understand the new model, and we're actively responding to schools' individual questions and concerns. Many schools have already had their budgets approved by their LSCs and submitted them to the district. But we're still only partway through the budget process, and significant changes will continue to be made. For example, once all school budgets have been submitted to CPS in early May, we will use the most current special education data to make further adjustments to special education staffing in school buildings across the city. This waiting is not a delay, it's a deliberate part of the budget strategy and our annual process. By taking these steps as late in the process as possible, we can fully be responsive and fully accurate and be fully accurate in meeting the diverse needs of our schools. In short, there's still a lot of work to be done in next year's school budgets, and that work is being done in real time. We look forward to sharing the finalized school budgets in late May and releasing the full CPS budget soon after for consideration by the board, for the Board of Education. At the end of the day, this is a milestone to be celebrated. It's an important step forward for equity in school funding, and an important step forward for schools, community, students, especially those who have felt the impact of this investment for too long. And ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to get everything 100% perfect in this budget, but you have our commitment that we're working with individual school challenges. There are a few outliers that we are seeing, and we're going to work with you, and we're going to work with those individual schools. But by far, overall, what we're seeing is more equity, especially for our schools of highest needs, while we're still protecting our strongest schools. And know that you have a commitment from myself, my team, to continue to protect our strongest schools. Mr. President, this concludes my prepared remarks.
Thank you, CEO Martinez. I actually want to build on your comments about process and impact. I want to acknowledge the complexity of this budget and the outstanding questions some people still have about it. Parents, community members, students, educators, and members of our school communities understandably want to know right now what their individual school budgets are. LSEs, which are duly elected officials who represent their school communities, are grappling with this entirely new budget model too. We need to continue supporting and educating our community, understanding the change. And while many schools are closer to final decisions, others are still combing through it line by line. This board acknowledges the uncertainty, the uneasiness some communities are feeling right now. And we hear that. As we get closer to finalizing school budgets in the coming weeks, I want everyone to know this. First, we have directed CEO Martinez to be monitoring this every single day, looking for unintended consequences. The CPS budget team has tested this model many times, and still the district recognizes, as CEO Martinez said, they still may need to make adjustments as we learn more along the way, responding to schools' individual concerns and questions. We have that commitment from CEO Martinez, and this board will be looking for that. Second, we have directed the CEO to assess the impact of staffing changes at all schools, regardless of type or region or size, to ensure that the models meet the goals of providing schools with what their students need through guaranteed foundational positions. So we'll be looking for example, an AP, arts, PE positions at all of our elementary schools. We'll be looking for more positions like counselors, restorative justice coordinators at higher needs schools. Before approving this budget in June, this board will need a full comprehensive analysis on the impacts. Third, while principals and LSEs are still working through this phase of the budget, and there are many things to be clarified and answered, this year's budget is making a significant and necessary step and shift away from student-based budgeting. For years, our communities have been advocating for moving away from student-based budgeting and creating a budget based on students' need. This has been reinforced through budget roundtables that CPS has had in the community over the last 5 years. This budget, the highest level, moves the district away from student-based budgeting and towards budgeting based on students' needs, so that necessary resources can be provided with students living in poverty. Students in disinvested communities, and students of higher exposure to community violence. This is new, and the transition to something new is not always smooth, but moving away from SBB and toward a budget based on student needs is necessary. And that's the step towards equity, and that's the right thing to do. But even with this new budget approach, our students still need more, right? I want to pull back a bit and situate the budget within a larger financial context that we're in. We're doing what we financially can with what we have to legally meet our students' needs. I'm confident of that, and yet we still need more funding from the state for our students. We're over $1 billion underfunded by the state's own adequacy target. We can't raise revenue like other school districts across the state can, and we're still required by law to balance the budget. We can't address our capital needs like other school districts across the state. That's not right, and that's not equitable. All of our students deserve more. Our schools aren't adequately funded. And at the same time, we need to recognize that pandemic dollars are gone, that our structural deficit is here and not going away, not now, right? Not for the foreseeable future. And that's hard to swallow, and I recognize that. But every budget decision we make has a direct impact somewhere else in our budget, right? It has an impact on next year's investments and investments beyond that. And every dollar CPS spends on debt service, for example, is $1 less that we can invest in our students. We're living in a world of trade-offs, worsened by the expiration of ESSER funding and not having the resources we actually need for our students to fully thrive and succeed. And as the CPS team makes some of these difficult decisions, the CEO and his team have made a commitment to keep cuts away from the classroom as much as possible. We need to all continue to advocate for more funding that our student needs from the state and federal government. Thank you. So we're going to continue with our next order of business. Committee updates. Member Fahey Hughes, please proceed with the update on the Special Education Advisory Committee.
Good evening. As you may recall, the ODLSS name change survey opened on Monday, March 11th. When the survey closed, we had 4,471 submissions. The respondents expressed that they wanted the name to be easy to remember and clearly describe the work of the office. Chief Josh Long and his team are collaborating with the CPS marketing team and will be announcing the new name to the public within the next few weeks. Additionally, they will be working with the marketing team on updating the CPS website, all CPS documents, and creating a communication plan for the community. In all upcoming SEAC meetings, Chief Long will have a permanent segment in the agenda to provide timely and relevant updates to the committee members and the public. We are very excited to continue partnering to ensure access to quality education and resources for students with disabilities and the families who support them. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, May 8th, 2024, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Belmont Cragen Elementary School, 6112 West Fullerton Avenue. Additionally, we have posted the information for all upcoming meetings on the Board of Education's website at cpsboe.org under the Committees tab. We look forward to seeing you there. And if you want to engage with the Special Education Advisory Committee, please email boeseac@cps.edu. Thank you.
Thank you. So now for announcements. Please use our website, cpsboe.org, if you need to seek assistance or want to meet with a board member during office hours. We encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity to meet with board members outside of a board meeting. As announced at March's board meeting, we opened up the application for next year's honorary student board member. We have a video highlighting the position and Caitlin's experience in her role as the honorary school board member.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Shaw. I'm the honorary student board member for the district. I am currently a junior at Kenwood Academy. You are not here just because you want a position. It's not something that you just put on like your transcript or your resume. Like, you are here to support students and support your peers, because those are the ones who you walk the hallways with every day. And that's what really motivated me to be in these positions. That crossroads from being a board member, from being, more of a student council president, like advocating for my class, it was, let me make sure that I am having communication with every student across the CPS district as much as I can. Let me make sure I'm checking in. Let me make sure that I am making sure that people know I care, because that's what that position really is. It's advocating for student voice in a room full of adults that may not be able to gauge it the same way as student-to-student conversation. I think that going into the position, I thought it was going to be very like cookie cutter, very like you do this, you do that, you show your face, you make your comments, you play your part. But what I've realized is that being an honorary student board member, you get creative in ways that you didn't really know you could, right? And you make connections from, student voice committees. So like not just gauging students in general who you see on the street, who you befriend. And you use those opinions and you use those comments to really like grow, a repertoire for how we like handle student voice. Like, board members come to me and say like, do you know what's going on in student voice right now? Like, do you know how we can help student voice right now, how we can amplify it? And the only way that I'm able to put that on the table is if I am able to like communicate with different students across the district, whether or not that was through like the roundtables that we're doing this year, or even just talking to students around the city of Chicago whenever I can. I've built really connected relationships with the board members since being on the board. I talk to them a lot. We were able to have difficult conversations that I didn't think that I could have with adults before stepping into the position. I'm hoping I'm leaving a good example for what an honorary student board member should be. I'm hoping for any perspective people who are going to be in the position that they look at me and they see what you can do, but also see themselves within me and see that they can grow as well. If you're interested in becoming an honorary student board member, you must be a rising junior or senior. To be eligible, the student must hold a 3.0 GPA or above and have proven leadership experience. Go to cpsboe.org/home and scroll to news and articles. Oh yeah, you also receive an $1,000 scholarship to either 2 or a 4-year college. Just do it.
Board Member Shaw, you are definitely leaving a good example. Do you want to share other details of the application?
Yeah, of course. Hey, y'all. Good evening. Everyone said I look very taller in that video. I'm actually 5 feet, but it's very flattering. I love it. First I want to start with why I applied. When I had got the application, I had just got done like coming from a debate tournament. And my my principal, Ms. Calloway, go Broncos, said, I got this position that I want you to fill out for. And I was like, this is another thing that you're signing me up for that you do all the time. And she was like, no, this is something really big. And I just got done reading one of Chevrolet Warren's books, specifically about fugitive educative spaces. And I realized how much education had meant so much to me growing up. CPS born, CPS will always be a part of my heart. And when I looked at the application, I didn't think that I could do it at first. And I think that's what a lot of students kind of feel when we go into positions like this that are kind of acclimated to adults. We don't think that we're cut out for the role. We think that we aren't going to be bringing something to the table and we're scared to speak up. But I want to make it very clear and very known that we're already doing the work. I think Board Member Todd Breland says this very well, that students are already doing the work every single day to make sure that our schools are providing the resources for us and that we're able to exemplify our voices in our everyday banter about what we want in our schools. What I've realized is that every CPS student has big dreams, big eyes, and we have big plans, right? And this is a position where you can really exemplify that and put it into work. Take the work that we're already doing and exemplify it 100 times more. And what I've learned from being an honorary student board member is that you have it in you already. You just need the platform to exemplify it. And I think doing this application now and really, saying that I want to do this is the first start of that and not being afraid of it. I'm looking at all the students in the crowd. I see y'all in the back. Yeah. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity and it showed me so much about being a leader. And I want students to join, to expand. But let me stop bantering, right? I'm happy to announce that the deadline date to submit your application to be the next honorary student board member for the school year 24-25 has been extended. All rising juniors and seniors now have until Friday, May 10th by 5 p.m. to submit their application. Go to www.cpsboe.org for more information. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see those applications come in, y'all.
Tech team, you might want to cut that video for the next promotion. Board Secretary, please share the details for the next agenda review committee meeting and board meeting.
Thank you. Yes, President Shi. The next Agenda Review Committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. Advanced registration will open at 10:30 a.m. Monday, May 13th, 2024, and will close Tuesday, May 14th, 2024 at 5 p.m. or until all slots are filled, whichever is first. The next board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 23rd, 2024. Advanced registration will open at 10:30 a.m. Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, and will close Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024 at 5 p.m. or until all slots are filled, whichever is first. If anyone has any questions about this process, please contact the board office for assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members will open up the floor for questions or comments on items of the public agenda. Board members, are there any comments or questions right now?
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to, it's more of a comment than a question, but I know that today one of the items we're voting on is a renewal on our ALOT programs. And this is something that, has come to the board multiple times, and certainly I want to just note that it's an item I struggle with. We are outsourcing our education for some of our most vulnerable students, one of which is a for-profit provider. I also recognize that it is the end of April and programs need to persist for next year. But I wanted to request that as part of this summer strategic plan to have clarity on where we are going moving forward with our options redesign. There's been a long time conversation about options redesign. And so just to make sure that in this, however things proceed through community engagement and beyond, that there's clarity on where we're going with these programs moving forward, and to similarly have another sort of come back to the board this fall on where we are with that.
I also had a question about one of the items on our agenda. This is Board Report PR2 regarding the authorization for the second and final renewal for the NLU for the class professional development for pre-K services. The recommendation is for 1 year to conduct classroom observations utilizing the class tool. And I just had 2 questions. The first one is this assessment required? Chief Chukwumbova, could you respond to that?
Yeah, sure. So all programs that are recipients of the Early Childhood Block Grant are required to provide evidence about developmental or educational components and the quality that exists in the classrooms. The state uses Accelerate Illinois as their quality rating system that is focused on early childhood programs. The Accelerate Illinois offers two tools that can be used, class being one of them, and there is one more option. All the programs that are recipient of the early childhood block grant are required to have ratings of the quality of the program. And some potential, consequences can include that our district's early childhood programs can be left without rating, which can impact the future additional grant allocations. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So we get a $250 million grant from the early childhood block grant. And so you're saying, I just want to be clear, can you restate some of the financial implications if to the district if this weren't approved?
Right, so the district must be participating in the quality evaluation system for the early childhood programs. This is one of the requirements for the administrative code that requires the districts and also the daycare centers as well are participating in this evaluation system, that they receive rating of quality. And there are two tools that are approved by ISB to capture data around these quality ratings of the programs. And class is one of them.
Thank you. Do board members, any other questions? So we'll now proceed with the vote on public agenda items. Board Secretary, please proceed.
Thank you, President Shi. I will proceed with the items on the public agenda, read the board report numbers and brief titles. I believe Vice President Todd Breland has motioned MO1 regarding record of proceedings.
Yes, thank you. I move that the record of proceedings of the Agenda Review Committee meeting of March 13th, 2024, and the board meeting of March 21st, 2024, prepared by the board secretary, be approved, and that such records of proceedings be posted on the Chicago Board of Education website in accordance with Section 2.06B of the Open Meetings Act.
Is there a second?
Yes, I second the motion.
I'll proceed with a roll call. Member Fahey Hughes,
Yes.
Member Lozano,
Yes.
Vice President Todd Breland,
Yes.
Member Woods,
Yes.
President Shi.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays. This motion is adopted by the board. President Shi, I'll continue with items that do require a vote. RS1, amend the December 2023 report, request the PBC of Chicago to undertake the FY22 Kenwood Link and Mechanical Project. President Shi, for the record, this amendment is necessary to decrease the PBC authority from $13,950,000 to $12,251,222. I'll continue with RS2, resolution waiving the deadline to modify Board Policy 302.15. RS3, resolution authorize appointment of members to LSCs to fill vacancies. PO1, authorize the commencement of the public comment period for the charter school academic accountability policy. PO2, authorize the commencement of the public comment period for the district policy for continuous improvement in data transparency. PO3, authorize the commencement of the public comment period for the policy on granting credit towards graduation courses taken outside of the CPS day program. PO4, authorize the commencement of the public comment period for the amendment of the Student Code of Conduct and policy on addressing bullying and bias-based behavior. EX1, transfer of funds. EX2, amends the April 22 report, renewal of the Youth Connection Charter School Agreement with conditions. And President Shi, for the record, this amends the charter agreement with Youth Connection Charter School, YCCS, to 1, relocate the Youth Connection Leadership Academy, YCLA campus to 1501 South Keeler Avenue, and 2, change the management organization of the West Campus to the Greater West Town Project, effective July 1st, 2024. President Shi, for the record, EX3, amend the renewal of the Chicago Collegiate Charter School Agreement with conditions, is being withdrawn from agenda. I'll continue with OP1. Authorization to purchase the former St. Columba property. PR1, authorize the first renewal agreement with International Baccalaureate Organization PR2, authorize the second and final renewal agreement with National Louis University. PR3, authorize a new agreement with Ombudsman Educational Services Limited and Pathways in Education Illinois. PR4, authorize the second final renewal agreement with Saga Innovations, Inc. PR5, authorize the first and second final renewal agreements with various vendors for social and emotional learning products and services. PR6, report on the award of construction contracts and changes to construction contracts for the capital improvement program. PR7, authorize the first and second final renewal agreement with AT&T Core. PR8, authorize a new agreement with CSP Topcode DBA Clearspan LLC. PR9, amends the March 2023 report, agreements with various vendors for charter yellow school buses and or alternative models of transportation for field and sport trip services. President Shi, for the record, this amendment is necessary to add 6 additional vendors to increase the district's capacity to secure services for transporting students to and from various after-school extracurricular and sports activities. President Shi, these items do require a vote.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll proceed with a roll call with the noted withdrawal of EX3. Member Fahey Hughes,
Yes.
Member Lozano,
Yes.
Vice President Todd Breland,
Yes.
Member Woods,
Yes.
President Shi.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays. These matters are adopted by the board. President Shi, I'll continue with additional items on the public agenda that do not require a vote. PR10, Chief Procurement Officer Delegation of Authority Report for February 2024 and Chief Financial Officer Report for February 2024. EX4, Report on Principal Contracts New. EX5, Report on Principal Contracts Renewals. EX6, Report on the Chief Executive Officer pursuant to Board Rule 5-4. AR1, Report on Board Report Rescissions. President Shi, these items just need to be accepted by the board.
Please mark received and filed.
President Shi, I'll continue with items from the General Counsel that do require a vote. AR2, appoint Assistant General Counsel Michael Phelps. AR3, workers' compensation payment for lump sum settlement for Linda Ballas. AR4, workers' compensation payment for lump sum settlement for Deborah Barrero. AR5, workers' compensation payment for lump sum settlement for Mary Casey. AR6, approved payment of proposed settlement regarding Fida Abu Hatab individually and as mother and next friend of OS, a minor, DS, a minor, and LS, a minor versus board. AR7, approved payment of proposed settlement regarding Israel Miranda individually and as father and next friend of KAA minor, KRA, a minor, and KMA, a minor versus board. AR8, approved payment of proposed settlement regarding Nicole Munoz individually and as mother and next friend of JO, a minor versus board. President Shi, these items do require a vote.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. I'll proceed with a roll call. Member Fahey Hughes,
Yes.
Member Lozano,
Yes.
Vice President Todd Breland,
Yes.
Member Woods,
Yes.
President Shi.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays. These matters are adopted by the board. President Shi, I'll continue with an item from the Chief Executive Officer that does require a vote. EX7, warning resolution, Troy Patterson, tenured teacher assigned to Simeon Career Academy. President Shi, this item does require a vote.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
I'll proceed with a roll call. Member Fahey Hughes,
Yes.
Member Lozano,
Yes.
Vice President Todd Breland,
Yes.
Member Woods,
Yes.
President Shi.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays. This matter is adopted by the board. President Shi, I'll continue with items from the board that do require a vote. RS4, resolution approving Chief Executive Officer's recommendation to dismiss educational support personnel. RS5, resolution approving Chief Executive Officer's recommendation to dismiss probationary appointed teachers. President Shi, these items do require a vote.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I
I
second.
second the motion.
I'll proceed with a roll call. Member Fahey Hughes,
Yes.
Member Lozano,
Yes.
Vice President Todd Breland,
Yes.
Member Woods,
Yes.
President Shi.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays. These matters are adopted by the board. President Shi, I believe Board Member Woods has motion MO2.
I move that the board adopt the minutes of the closed session meeting of the March 13th, 2024 meeting pursuant to Section 2.06 of the Open Meetings Act. Board members reviewed these minutes and determined that the need for confidentiality does exist. Therefore, the minutes of the closed meeting held on March 13th, 2024 shall be maintained as confidential and not available for public inspection.
Is there a second?
I second.
I'll proceed with a roll call. Member Fahey Hughes,
Yes.
Member Lozano,
Yes.
Vice President Todd Breland,
Yes.
Member Woods,
Yes.
President Shi.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays. This motion is adopted by the board. President Shi, there are no further items on the public agenda.
So now let's proceed with today's public participation session. Thank you for joining and to share your comments with the board. In compliance with the Illinois Open Meetings Act, public participation, sometimes referred to as public comment, is a portion of the board meeting that grants district stakeholders the opportunity to address the board with their concerns and comments. Note that public participation is the time for CPS senior leadership and the board to listen and to hear from you rather than a time for dialogue with board members during or after your remarks. Public participation is a key component of transparent governance and provides us as board members as well as senior leadership an opportunity to listen to everyone who has signed up to speak. This board takes equity of voice seriously. While we may not address your comments directly during public participation, CPS leadership is always present at our meetings and are able to address concerns as follow-ups after the meeting. As a district and as a board, we also have many other spaces for authentic dialogue. For example, each and every one of our board members hosts office hours so we can have a conversation. Thank you for your attention and consideration. As a reminder, union representatives will speak before public participation, and any elected officials will speak after the conclusion of public participation. Board Secretary, please share the rules of public participation.
Thank you, President Shi. Members of the public who registered to speak were given the option to attend in person or via an electronic format. For those who prefer to attend via an electronic format, they were given information to access this meeting by dialing a number and using their phone. We did this so that speakers with limited or no access to the internet or who may have weak internet connection could still participate using their phones. Also, members of the public may submit written comments for Board of Education meetings via the written comments form on the board's website at cpsboe.org or mail to 1 North Dearborn, Suite 950. Written comments received between the day the public agenda was posted through 5 p.m. the day after the Board of Education meeting will be submitted to the board and published within 5 business days on our website at cpsboe.org. Speakers, please listen while I provide directions for public participation. I will call your name and number when it's your turn to speak. For speakers joining us virtually, as a reminder to unmute, please enter *6. Once you hear your name, please state your name for the record. I will then start the 2-minute timer. When there are 30 seconds remaining, I will inform you so that you can proceed to conclude your remarks to allow for the next speaker to begin. For any observers wishing to stand with speakers, please stand on either side of your speaker to ensure aisles are clear. Thank you. And President Shi, before we begin calling registered speakers from the speakers list, we do have union reps who would like to address the board. We'll begin with Crystal Williams, CTU Recording Secretary, who is here in person.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
Thank you. Hey, Ruby. Thank you for having this meeting and making it public at a time when people can't participate because most folks work during the day and not able to attend. Good evening. My name is Crystal Williams, and I am an elected recording secretary of the Chicago Teachers Union. If you don't know me, and if you do know me, you know that I am a PSRP for life, and I'm standing proudly here with some of my members and paras who work in the buildings every day. I worked as a school clerk for Chicago Public Schools, where I followed the footsteps of my mother, who is a retired school clerk after serving for 29 years. I am also the mother of 3 daughters who are all third-generation PSRPs and not only graduated, but have been and are employed as paraprofessionals. Please join me for a moment and visualize kindergartners and 2nd and 3rd grade siblings walking to school, greeted by a teacher assistant that knows in that moment what kind of day they're going to have. Or needing to go to the main office for additional support, they are greeted by a school clerk that knows them by name and encourages them to say, "Make today as amazing as you are." Visualize with me students never having to worry about Wi-Fi down on their, or their Chromebooks being down, not up to date because we have a full tech coordinator assigned to every school. Visualize with me our English learners, EL students, never falling behind in class because of the all day and afternoon support they receive from bilingual teacher assistants. Visualize with me our schools with all full range of support, staff devoted to social and emotional learning who can help early detect when students experience bullying and other issues that could cause distractions from them, their peers, and their teachers. Now visualize with me a school day without a paraprofessional. The employees that were acknowledged as essential workers during COVID, the school clerks that you attempted to privatize, these are the same paras that are now faced with hardships during Renaissance 2010 because they were required to be highly qualified in order to keep their jobs and work with students. Our paras are being told by their principals that they won't have positions next year, or they'll have to accept a non-union position if they want to work. And now here we are again, having to defend our jobs and our purpose. However, initial proposed budgets by CPS leadership will cut back, even eliminate vital paraprofessional positions in our schools next year, robbing our students of the invaluable support and care from these incredible educators and school employees. PSRPs are the backbone of the community. Like most PSRPs, I lived in a neighborhood school I served as a school clerk. As you know, paras are mostly Black and brown women who are head of household, grandparents, and live up the street around the corner of our community schools, take their children and grandchildren to the schools that they work at every day here in Chicago. And even given that there is a national PSRP shortage, we cannot and must not sacrifice these vital staff people because they truly help make the difference in schools, in the lives of our students and in our schools. CTU was among the early advocates calling for the end to school-based budgeting because for years, CTU teachers and paraprofessionals witnessed how devastating budget cuts negatively impacted them and our neighborhood schools with the particular harm to the Black and brown students. The student-based budgeting SBB formula and how it was implemented resulted in widespread student disparities and fostered a Hunger Games mentally among schools in our city. As part of our decades of advocacy, CTU called for an end to SBB, part of our work to end the racial disparities harming Chicago's majority Black student bodies. Despite CPS' recent announcement to phase out SBB, little information has been provided by central office about how it would impact paras. Will the racial disparities that SBB helped create be addressed and remedied? In fact, as CPS leadership rolled out in school level budgets, principals received this month one stark thing that stood out. The foundation positions included in those budgets severely undercounted the need schools have for teacher assistants and other PSRPs. CPS proposed budget grossly undercuts any progress we will receive from the newly created permanent foundation positions by also creating the new cuts and structural problems. CTU will not stand by and allow CPS to steal from one underfunded school to shore up and give to other underfunded schools to make it even. We are in a unique moment with new leadership and a shared vision for our neighborhood schools by educators, parents, and community partners. Now is the time to go in and create a new baseline for all CPS students and start with funding all CPS schools to win schools Chicago students deserve. I know Mayor Brandon Johnson. I had an opportunity to organize with him on the West Side. I know Board President Shi. I've also been in coalitions with him. I know what they want. What they are talking about when it comes to student-based budgeting, because it is the same thing that we've been organizing towards at CTU for so many years, and this is not it. CTU members are committed to working with CPS, but let's be crystal clear. There is no way we can achieve what our students deserve unless additional state and federal funding are invested in Chicago public schools. CTU acknowledges some bright spots worth keeping and building upon in CPS proposed budget. It is important to acknowledge that CPS heard us when we said there must be additional baseline funding positions added to every school. CTU is adamant that paraprofessionals deserve the same stability and security and must be included in foundation funding for every school, just as teachers are. The CTU has shared with CEO Martinez and the Board of Education our vision and the pathway to win the schools our students deserve. You'll hear from some of our CTU members how we support students and our members experiencing homelessness, the need for up-to-date green buildings, while we must have libraries and librarians in every school, how we can envision a new school day that brings joy back to the classroom, that includes sports, music, and the arts for every CPS student. We are calling on you to work with us and allow this contract negotiations to build the transformative schools that not only our students deserve, but that every resident in the great city of Chicago can be proud of. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
The next union rep is Jen Conant, CTU Charter Division Chair, who is joining us virtually. Please enter *6 to unmute.
Good evening, board members. I'm sorry I can't be there in person with you today, but I'm glad that I'm still able to speak to you tonight. Today, I'd like to address a few issues. 1, the revised standards for charter renewal. 2, how the new budgeting process is being implemented in the charter school space. 3, changes in alternative and charter school location. And 4, management structures in the alternative school space. First, I want to note that we have concerns about the district's proposed changes to the renewal and accountability cycle for charter and contract schools. The materials in the agenda packet imply that CPS is proposing to change the current charter accountability policy from one that assesses academic, financial, and operational performance to one that only assesses academic performance. The proposal before the board states that, quote, evaluation standards and the specific evaluation framework by which a charter school shall be evaluated shall be further defined and incorporated into the charter school's charter agreement and called an accountability plan, end quote. Individualizing the metrics that each charter needs to meet means that there isn't any set standard. That is very concerning, even if this is a temporary or bridge policy. It also means that the standards that charter schools and charter operators are held to will not be public. That's also problematic. The standards that charters are held to should be public, and it should be clear whether schools or networks are meeting those standards, both for any temporary policy for the coming year and in future policies. CPS's proposal to bury standards and to hold each charter operator accountable to different expectations takes us back several steps when we should be moving forward. Similarly, no longer evaluating financial and operational performance of charter operators when we know that there are a lot of concerns about how charter operators spend the money given to them by CPS is a step backwards. We're disappointed with this movement in the wrong direction. We urge you to have CPS set standardized, transparent, and public expectations of charter and contract school operators both now and in the future that account for the teaching and learning environment in our schools and equity for our most vulnerable students. Next, let's talk about the new budgeting process for schools. We acknowledge the efforts of the district for moving away from student-based budgeting for teacher positions and for improving the bare minimum for our most underfunded district schools. Every school needs a certain number of essential positions: teachers, paraprofessionals, counselors, clerks. This funding structure is especially crucial for serving small schools well. We've been disheartened, however, to learn that funding structure is not how school budgets will work in the charter space. Instead, charters will continue to essentially have student-based budgeting, but under a different name. Maintaining that funding structure harms, in particular, our alternative schools where student needs are highest. These schools need to be fully staffed and deserve a budgeting system that ensures direct classroom staff are prioritized and fairly compensated. A small alternative school might have different needs, such as in addition to its core instructional staff, might need a drug counselor and a restorative justice coordinator, but we need a system that ensures charter operators put the funding they get in front of their students. For many years, CTU has called for more funding to go directly into classrooms in our charter schools and less to management. Applying the same standards for ensuring funds go to direct classroom support to charter schools and charter school students as well would help ensure that school funding is going into the classroom and not into charter operator pockets. Third, we know that YCCS is looking to change the school building for YCLA. That's on the agenda for today. Another charter is looking to relocate as well. And while we don't oppose the move of YCLA from its current location to the new proposed location, we do have questions and concerns about the process. The move is based solely on site suitability and affordability for YCCS. It's not based on meeting the needs of students or communities. Current YCLA students will most likely need to enroll in other YCCS schools or may simply drop out completely. YCCS was originally contracted to serve 250 students. In 2022, that number was reduced to 210, and in 2024, their current enrollment is fewer than 140 students. It is safe to assume that moving the campus yet again will decrease enrollment further. YCCS will also not sign a lease for longer than the length of their contract with CPS. That fact speaks to YCCS's willingness to move or to close the campus and their reluctance to invest long-term into YCLA, which is concerning. As for CPS's role, does CPS help charter operators find new locations? For example, there are likely CPS buildings that could house alternative schools. Does the district partner with charter operators to explore that kind of possibility? Do they monitor how often a charter holder has schools that move? YCLA has moved twice in the last 2 years, and every year they seem to be at risk of closing because they don't know if they have a building for the next school year. This kind of instability isn't good for students or for staff or the school community as a whole. So we have questions. Finally, we need to really think about how alternative schools and alternative learning opportunities programs, also known as ALAPs, are run and about their management structure. Just like I talked about tiers of management taking a cut of charter school budgets, the same is true for alternative schools. More money needs to be going directly into the classroom, and we must work to find ways to ensure that as much money as possible is going into the classroom and not just into management or into the pockets of for-profit organizations. Changing how these programs are administered can help move money into the classroom, just like ensuring a minimum number of instructional or core positions at each school would. We hope to work with the board and CPS in the future to find ways to improve all alternative education in Chicago for our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Before we move to the registered speakers from the speakers list, I do want to note for the record that Board Member Woods has left the meeting at 6:29 p.m. And we'll now begin speakers from the speakers list with Dr. Angel Alvarez, speaker number 1.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Angel Alvarez. It's always a surreal experience to be at a school where members of my family dropped out of. If you ask them, they'll say, hey, they made mistakes, but they weren't alone. Just as then, CPS has made mistakes regarding a lack of transparency and little budget accountability, and history seems to be repeating itself again. CPS is not being transparent about their budget, funding formulas, or projections at school level funding for the future. Release those funding proposals, hold them up so that we can determine how equitable they are. There's a number of questions and unintended consequences with your budget formula. Like, if an all-white school, do they get more funding than diverse ones? Because it sure seems like that way. Look at page 35, middle column toward the bottom. You need to answer that question. The presentation also focused on the report from Stanford and Harvard's Educational Opportunity Project. They claim not only did CPS have the highest post-pandemic recovery, but that our students are performing better now than they were before the pandemic. CPS can't stop talking about it, but you won't listen to me about the problems of the study. It took me 30 seconds to find out that their data and findings were grossly inaccurate. It was so obvious, I was worried that maybe I made a mistake. Who am I? I'm just some kid from the South Side, and these are Harvard and Stanford. But when they asked other people to independently verify it, they couldn't disprove my findings. With a basic understanding of mathematics, your bureaucrats should have known that the conclusions couldn't be trusted, because Stanford also claimed that CPS students lost 2.5 times the learning. in the
Speaker number one, you have
prior.
30 seconds remaining.
They claim that CPS students lost 2.5 times more learning loss in the 2 years prior to the pandemic than between 2019 and 2022. You insult our teachers. All of the hard work, all of the accomplishments, this study failed to acknowledge. It's wrong. These findings are inaccurate because of poor statistical modeling. We're at a critical time. You know what? We need more TLC, transparency, release the budgets and projections. We need leadership that recognizes your power comes from the people. Involve us, nothing about us without us. And finally, child-centered solutions and accountability. Beyonce's net worth is $800
Speaker
million.
number one, please conclude your
CPS's
remarks.
budget is 12 Beyoncés, and I assure you, we're not getting Beyonce-level opportunities in these schools. Work with me and we can change that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Kimberly Johnson, speaker number two. And as Kimberly Johnson approaches the podium, the next speaker will be Ebony Durham, speaker number three.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, board, for listening. I know that you all have several of the meetings that you do have to attend throughout these months, but I am asking you right now, just not only to listen, but to listen to my heart. I have been with CPS for 28 years. I have been a TA into an IA1 and also an IA2. Just this past week, and this is another worker with me, she's an IA. And we were told from our principal that our positions were fading out. 28 years. 28 years as a first responder, 28 years of meeting our children in the school, dealing with their SEL issues, dealing with their trauma from our community. We've been there. We're the first responders. We're the first that see them in the morning. We're the first ones they see, the last ones that they see leaving at home. We're their parents in some states. We're their counselors. We're there for our children. I have several models. 0 tolerance for bullying. I listen to every child. And if I have to speak to a child, I can promise you this, I never leave them with a broken spirit, ever. I've been committed to what I do. I've never taken my jobs for granted. Every day that I walk through there, I am grateful. And I look at my school and this whole thing with CPS as a body. And when we were told as an IA to another IA that, hey, you want to keep your position, you might have to bump somebody over. I would never want to do that to somebody because we work as a body. If I take this hand off, I'm crippled. Our body
Speaker
is
number
crippled.
two, you have 30 seconds remaining.
We need everybody in place. We need this budget to work. Nobody should have to be bumped. Yes, principals, I heard that you're excited about it, but principals won't lose their jobs. We're the ones in jeopardy. And I just want to say this to you. I don't know how you would feel over here if somebody had to bump somebody over here. I need you to listen to my heart. I fight for our students every day. This is what I enjoy doing. I've done it faithfully for 28 years. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ebony Durham, speaker number three.
Good evening, board, district
evening.
leadership. I'm just stopping by to say hello. There is no way that I could let you all come to South Chicago and not say hello. I'm not up for renewal right now. And I want to say thank you to each of you for making space for our families, the caregivers, their voices to be heard in the strategic planning of the district. I am doing my best to get our parents out to the May 1st session that's going to be at Corliss High School. I'm here now representing the Great Lakes Academy parents and caregivers, the ones who can't be here tonight, the ones like my mother who often could not make it out to a lot of the very important meetings where decisions were being made about her child's education. But I know she was so grateful for people like Mr. Dickerson from the Region 3 Office of CPS, who on a night like tonight randomly showed up at report card pickup and gave her a couple of choices about the pathways for my education. And those choices, one of those choices landed me at math camp as a sixth grader for girls at Western Illinois University. Another one of those choices landed me at Kenwood Academy's Academic Center. And that was about a generation ago. And her being able to have access to those choices made a lot of a difference for my life and my family's life and the choices that they have. And so
Speaker
I
number
am
3, you have 30 seconds
very
remaining.
encouraged by the opportunity for you to hear from the voices of our parents, our families, our community members. I live right here in this community. I serve right here in this community. And I want to thank you again for making time. And if any of the board members, I know the district leaders are going to be there. If any of the board members can make it out on May 1st, we'd love to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Our next 2 speakers are from Noble Schools, speaker number 4, Cecil Muse, and speaker number 17, April Green.
Excuse me, it was Cecil Muse. Dear CPS board and the fellow attendees. I am Cecil Muse, a high school senior at Baker College Prep. I am here to remind us all that voting matters. Shaping our education system matters. History shows us the harm of not exercising our right to vote, especially for people who look like me. I've learned that I have to use my voice to be heard and be seen. I want to teach young people about the importance of voting because we are the ones who are going to have to fill big shoes and make big decisions. Learning about candidates and political parties for this year's presidential election inspired me to stay informed and involved. In our class, we pulled out our computers and researched candidates. We prepare for the polls with intention and an outcome. I am grateful I was given this space to investigate and research in order to develop my own ideas about candidates and a history surrounding voting for people who look like me. I never thought I'd be chosen to be speaking about voting, but here I am. Representation matters. Seeing people like me in these spaces matters. And I believe it will also inspire action in other spaces. For example, when it comes to education, selecting school board members is important. Their decisions will directly impact our experiences as students. And as a young Black man who desires continued education,
Speaker number 4, you have 30 seconds remaining.
I'm invested in how to select school board members who will make decisions about me, my friends, and other students who are next in line to graduate. I am thankful for my teacher, Ms. Green, who continues to remind me that not only my voice, but my presence matters. And I want all of my friends and all the future students in this generation to feel exactly how I feel right now, empowered. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker, April Greens, number 17.
Abril Green.
I'm sorry.
So I am excited to speak with you all today in regard to my responsibility and authority as an educator of 12 years and mother of 3. I was never enthralled about politics in high school. I graduated from this school in 2008, a proud Cavalier, when the student population was 4,000 plus kids, when the hallways were jam-packed with noise and curiosity and beaming with pride. I was excited about learning. I was excited about the experiences, and I excelled because of them. I knew for certain that I would become this amazing teacher and prepare students for the real world so that they could carry the beam of light I had when I walked these hallways. What I wasn't so much invested in was how I will be able to show up in spaces as an educator and member of the community to continue to arm students with the tools to be prepared to participate in presidential and school board elections. My experience as a student mattered because there were politicians and school board members who insisted that my high school experience flourished in preparation for the future of this world. As an educator, it is my right and responsibility to enlighten today's youth as they prepared to hold the torch that will be used to light for tomorrow's students and new generation. It is not the easiest work, but it is work that is possible. So when I stand in front of classes with outgoing 12th graders who are just as curious as I was, I know I have the unique opportunity to equip them with the tools, the resources, and knowledge to be informed citizens in this world.
Speaker number
I do
17,
not
you have
take my
30
calling
seconds
lightly.
remaining.
When I have the privileged platform to ensure that my 12th graders are not mismanaged and they're thinking about how they will be perceived in this world by their peers and counterparts and refuse to sugarcoat the truth about the world they live in and create and allow them spaces to become critical thinkers within their own right, I know I am passing the torch of wisdom. I am excited about our new voters and members of society and how they will enter into this new phase of their lives as noble graduates. I welcome you to join us at our upcoming noble graduations and witness CESU and students that look like CESU celebrate this milestone and accomplishment because they have been prepared, they have been propelled, and they have been promised a brighter future because they learned the value of their voice. Thank you.
Thank you.
For your comments. Our next speaker is Jasmine Brown, speaker number 5. And as Jasmine Brown approaches the podium, the next speaker will be Mitzi Moore, speaker number 6.
Good evening. My name is Jasmine Brown. You all probably remember me from October the 25th, 2023, when I came and spoke about my son, Jalen Green, being found unresponsible in Marshall High School on the first day of school because he was given some by another student. It has been 6 months since that day, and I still have yet to hear from CPS regarding this investigation into my son. I've sent emails, I made phone calls, I left voicemails. Still no response. So a few days ago, I received an email from Principal Poole at John Marshall High School saying that I'm restricted from the school, whereas I will be arrested if I step on the premises. I have a student that goes there. I was just elected to a seat in the LSC, so I'm trying to figure out how, as a parent, I'm not allowed in the building and I will be arrested upon walking in there. So on April 11th, on report card pickup day, I introduced myself to an employee, Ms. Harris, and I asked her to make sure the next time she speak upon my name, that she make sure her microphone is off while we were on a Zoom call for the LSC forum. As I was leaving the building, she approached me and she said, "I'm from the West Side and I'm about that life." And I politely asked her to step outside. It is clear to me that in this letter that I received from Mr. Poole, it's dated April the 12th, 2024. I just received it via email, April the 22nd, 2024. I'm feeling like this is a form of retaliation because myself, yes, I filed 2 challenges regarding Ms. Dominique Harris and Dean Lane, Terrence Lane, because Mr. Lane is being paid in Marshall's budget right now as a special education teacher, but he's working in an administration capacity as the dean of students. How is Mr. Lane allowed to run on the LSC as an admin when he is listed as a teacher? And he's being paid out of the special education budget. Ms. Harris is running on the LSC as a non-teacher rep, and she's under investigation with the OIG at the moment regarding her son as one of the young men in Kentwood basketball team. About he was a student living in student temporary living
Speaker 5,
situations.
can you please conclude your
All I'm
remarks?
saying, with all this corruption, you have Dean Lane, who resides in Maywood, Illinois. You have Dominique Harris, who's under investigation and was followed home living in Linwood, Illinois. And you have them running on the LSC and they're working for CPS and they don't even reside in the city of Chicago. So
Thank you.
we have a whole lot of problems
Thank you,
still
Ms. Brown.
going on in Marshall.
No, I thank you for speaking today. I know face staff.
I'm not finished. You're not about to rush me because I've been waiting 6 months to hear from you all. And I also
Ma'am.
want to appreciate by me registering today to speak that someone is calling me trying to find out what I was going to stand up here and talk about. We have yet to get down to the bottom. I asked you all on October the 25th. All I wanted was results to find out what happened to my son the day he died, and I have yet to hear from any of you, especially from you all's law department. So you want to rush me off. Nobody was rushing to call my phone before yesterday when they saw my name come across your computer saying I was speaking today. All I'm asking again is for results. You all have a principal, a Black man working in a school with these kids, and he is a monster. I'm a parent who's always at the
Ms.
school.
Brown, again,
I'm a parent who's always at the school. You all always ask for parental participation. I'm that parent. It's parents you all have never seen in 4 years of kids in high school, but I'm not that parent. All I ask for from you all, get to the bottom of what happened to my son. Get to the bottom, get all the fraudulent, all the everything, the corruption out of the school. Kareem, step to the side. Don't approach me, young man. Okay, bye.
ma'am,
Ms. Brown.
All
we
I'm
do need
saying,
to
do
continue
your
with
job.
board
Do
business.
your job. Do
I hear
your
ya.
job. Do your job.
Yes.
My son almost died on the first day of school because of you all. There was no seeker in the class. If a kid would not have gave him anything, if that seeker would have been sitting next to him.
Yes, ma'am. We're gonna make sure that we get staff to follow up with
You
you,
keep
ma'am.
saying that. If it was your kid laying on that lunchroom
Ma'am, I
table,
understand.
if it was your son laying
I
on the
hear you.
lunchroom table unresponsible, almost dying. So you don't know how I feel as a
I
parent.
don't, ma'am.
None of y'all know how I feel as a parent. Be quiet because you don't understand. You don't know how to feel as a parent either. To find out that the principal was the one who told them not to call 911 to save my damn son.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mitzi Moore, and I'm a parent of elementary and middle school students enrolled at Catalyst Maria Charter School in Chicago Lawn. I am also the president of our Parent Advisory Committee and an elected Catalyst School Board member. As a former graduate of St. Adrian Grammar School and Maria High School, I'm proud to say I am a product of the Chicago Lawn community. The decision to enroll my children into Catalyst Maria was a result of nostalgia. As a former student of Maria, I have fond memories of the school. To know that the sisters who operated the school for 101 years gave the building to Catalyst and asked them to operate a charter school in it brings me great joy. Although I enrolled my scholars at Catalyst for sentimental reasons, my decision has been proven to be a positive one. I appreciate and admire the staff and how they interact with my children. My fourth grader is an extreme introvert. Her interactions with the students and staff have inspired her to blossom. In addition to improving her grades and test scores, she participates in classroom activities and initiates volunteer work. She's developing friendships and creating healthy core memories. My seventh grader has a 504 plan as he was diagnosed with ADHD. With this diagnosis, it is paramount that he receives the necessary resources to be successful in and out of the classroom. The teachers go beyond what is clinically needed for him to thrive.
Speaker number 6, you have 30
My
seconds.
children look
remaining.
forward to school each day and are happy when I pick them up. Catalyst Maria is not only a school serving 1,100 CPS students, over half of whom are siblings, but a family deeply embedded in the community of Chicago Lawn, the place I call home. Please celebrate with me the great choice I made to enroll my students and invest my life into this school and community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
you.
Our next speaker is Aaron Schubert, speaker number 7.
Hello. Before I begin, I would just like to say, please do right by that mother who spoke before me. No mother should have to go through that. You say that you aren't closing selective enrollment schools, yet you already closed selective enrollment schools to many students last year when you cut busing to them. You say that it is the admissions process that is making them segregated. How about the lack of busing? How does it make any difference if you are able to re-examine the admissions process to these schools if students cannot physically get to these schools anyway because CPS cut busing? For students whose parents can't afford to quit their jobs to take their kids to school each day, it's not going to make a difference whether or not the admissions process becomes more equitable because they can't accept the offer once they get it because CPS cut busing and their families can't afford to get them there. You say that low-income students make up nearly 70% of the district population, yet they only make up 30 to 40% of students in selective schools. Cutting busing decreases the number of low-income students at these schools and makes them less diverse. The board should be just as concerned about the bus cuts as you are about the admissions process. You also say selective schools are well enrolled. Let's think about this for a second. Many students from low-income families had to or will have to leave these schools because CPS canceled busing for them last year. But the spot does not remain empty. Another family with more means and money to get their kids to that school swoops in and takes the place of the student from a low-income family. Soon these schools become even less diverse and the percentage of students from low-income families dips even lower. My final question is this. I hear you say so much about transparency and community engagement, yet in the past year, we have witnessed some of the most opaque decision-making ever. Why is their refusal to release the budgets publicly in April as in
Speaker number
previous
7,
years?
you have 30 seconds remaining.
Why are the budget formulas and those used for opportunity index calculation not shared? Listing categories on a PowerPoint slide is not a formula. Why are predominantly Black schools like Bronzeville Classical needing to look into fundraising now just to be able to afford paper for their copiers? The cancellation of busing this year is just one example of how the opacity of decision-making and budget management is hurting CPS students. Let kids on those nearly empty buses that are running all over the city now at hubs before students with IEPs so that you don't increase the travel times of students with IEPs and release the budgets and the formulas. CPS Parents for Buses are hosting a forum for
Speaker number 7, please conclude your
for
remarks.
school board candidates this Sunday at 8 p.m. Y'all are welcome to attend. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We have the next group of speakers, number 8, Thomas Labato, number 11, Kevin Moore, number 16, Jordan Kunkel, number 18, Lisa Catledge, and number 21, Diana Castro.
Good evening.
Good
My name is
evening.
Tomas Lobato.
Good evening.
I'm a bilingual special education pre-K teacher at Tulowski Elementary. All teachers in the district are evaluated using the REACH framework. However, pre-K teachers are the only teachers that undergo an additional evaluation by the district via the class observation. On one occasion, while engaging my students in their native language, the evaluator told me that only interactions in English would be tracked. I asked, "Are you saying I should not engage with my Spanish-speaking students?" She simply repeated her statement, and I continued to interact with my students in Spanish. Another time, during a read aloud, I used the guided reading questions directly from the pre-K curriculum, creative curriculum, to engage my students in class discussion. Using these tools earned me low scores. I think you could understand my surprise when I received low scores for a lesson that adhered to the mandated pre-K curriculum. Not only is it inequitable for pre-K teachers to undergo additional evaluations, as highly qualified educators, it is concerning that class evaluators are not held to the same pedagogical standards. I suspect that this is the reason why I have consistently earned distinguished ratings with 3 different CPS administrators who do have pedagogical expertise. Yet my class scores have routinely been significantly lower in the instructional support domain. I strongly urge the board to end this additional evaluation for pre-K teachers that is not informative to us.
Number 8, you have 30 seconds remaining.
It is not informative to us. It is not indicative of our classroom instruction, and if anything, is detrimental to teacher morale in a profession facing recruitment and retention deficits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker, Kevin Moore, speaker number 11.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Kevin Moore, and I'm a social studies teacher at George Washington High School on the southeast side in the 10th Ward. And once again, the members of CTU are out here fighting for housing for our unhoused families in our new contract proposals. As a member of CTU, I'm here to advocate for a partnership between CTU, the city, and the board to win fully funded, quality, affordable housing for our families and members. The city of Chicago is in the midst of a housing crisis that is disproportionately affecting Black and brown families in our communities. In my 7 years of teaching, I've seen the negative impact that housing instability has on the school community. At my school, the number of unhoused students has doubled since last year to almost 60 and is expected to increase for the next school year. Some of these students are living with other families and require many supports just to get to school, as well as supports to get through school. One of my students ran away from home and missed so many days of school, it was unsure if they would graduate. Fortunately, through teacher and community support, they were able to and are now thriving at IIT. But so many students are in a similar situation or not so fortunate. Homelessness is affecting the community at large. Currently, one of the neighborhoods I serve, South Deering, is experiencing a STLS increase of 114% since last year. With nearly 25,000 unhoused CPS students, many who will end up leaving the city due to rising housing costs, CTU has stepped up to propose many brave housing proposals, such as STLS support, eviction protection, rental assistance, the development of 10,000 housing units for 15,000 families and more. Brave proposals require brave solutions. Just as there are many issues that come with homelessness and lack of affordable housing, there are a list of solutions. Putting city-owned land in a trust for the use of quality and green affordable housing, repurposing vacant CPS-owned buildings into affordable housing, set aside a number of CPS-owned vacant lots to be used for quality affordable housing, use TIF funds and dedicating a percentage of the $1.25 billion affordable housing bond for construction of quality green affordable housing are just a few solutions to mention. The goal is not to respond to homelessness, but eliminate homelessness. We need land and creating partnerships with community input to win. To do so will require collaboration between all major stakeholders to secure additional state and federal funding to win our proposals. We are far behind the rest of the country and parts of the world when it comes to addressing homelessness. CTU will continue to fight for affordable housing until we win because housing is a human right. Housing is equity, and no child should ever go without shelter, especially in the richest country on the planet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Jordan Kunkel, speaker number 16.
Good evening. I am Jordan Kunkel. I am a dance teacher with Chicago Public Schools at Disney Magnet School. I'm in the unique position of seeing kids in pre-K through 8 and seeing STLS students across all grade levels. As a first-year teacher, I am struggling to teach students with insecure housing. The one thing they need to be engaged in a class about creativity, self-expression, and having fun is the one thing I can't give them, a stable home. The person assigned to provide these students with the housing resources is also the social worker who has caseloads of other students to worry about. I'm frustrated when I can't focus on my lesson because there are withdrawn students in my class with bigger problems to worry about than ballet. Problems like not knowing where they're going to sleep that night, or the 2-hour-long commute home to their grandmother's house, or what dinner will look like. I think of one student in particular who every week is so preoccupied by thoughts like these that he misses an opportunity to engage in class and just be a kid with his classmates. While his classmates are playing around and creating choreography together, This student is sitting in the corner, wandering aimlessly through the classroom, or leaving my classroom altogether to wander the hall. When he does engage with his classmates, he doesn't know how to be a kid. He takes his jokes too far and pushes his peers away. He doesn't have community at school because he lacks trust in this system which has failed him. My school and others in the district need dedicated STLS advocates to provide direct support to our STLS students. The school is responsible for the success of each student, and right now there are students who need stable housing to be able to learn and to be able to succeed in CPS. Our students deserve to have devoted resources
Speaker 16, you have 30 seconds remaining.
at school to help them achieve stable and safe places to live. We need to include STLS advocates and other PSRPs in the foundation funding that each school receives so that our students can have the resources, the trust, and the brain space to be engaged in their education, in their creativity, and in their childhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Lisa Catledge, speaker number 18.
Good evening, Chicago Board of Education.
Good
evening.
My name is Lisa Catledge, and I'm a paraprofessional, and I have been advocating for permanent housing solutions in my school community. I have worked at Nicholson STEM Academy for over 20 years. This evening, I will be speaking on housing issues in my school community and throughout the city of Chicago. At Nicholson Elementary School, we have over 175 homeless students that need housing. Throughout the city of Chicago, there are about 24,000 STLS students. I believe the students deserve permanent place to stay and live, and it needs to be affordable. Working in Inglewood community, I have seen many families doubled up or placed in shelters. This is a temporary fix, but it is not a solution. Many families stay in the community, would love to stay where their children attend school instead of moving somewhere else that's not where their children already attended school. How can we work together with you to provide help with the housing crisis that's going on in Chicago? I can't imagine the heartache of children not having a place to stay to do homework or sit and watch a movie with their families at night, or leaving school and not deciding where they're gonna sleep or have meals to eat that night. This is trauma for our students, and it's nervousing me to even speak on this here. I want the board and CTU to work together with some of our proposals. I know my time is running out, but if I can give you a copy of some of our proposals, that would be great.
Speaker 18, can you please? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Diane Castro, speaker number 21.
Good evening.
Good
My name
evening.
is Dr. Diane Castro, and I'm a bilingual preschool teacher at Lorca. I'm here today to discuss National Lewis conducting the class evaluation and the disappointment that evaluations of educators were not discussed with our union as guaranteed by our contract Article 39. Class is supposed to evaluate emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support. However, all teachers are already evaluated with REACH. This is done in planning and preparation, instruction, classroom environment, and additionally, professional responsibilities. REACH is a legal requirement, making class redundant and excessive. There is a claim that this is attached to funding, but when we reviewed the block grant, outsourcing class to National Lewis was not cited as mandatory. The requirement, according to Accelerate, additionally, is that this is conducted once every 3 years. The process is that currently that the school administrator is informed that an observer who does not have to have a background in education, much less early childhood, will come to the school at some point within a 2-week window. The observer is only required to be trained on how to use the tool and will show up within that window if they show up at all. We have educators that had their observers not show up to 3 times. That is 6 weeks of anxiety and apprehension for our staff. When the observer does arrive, they follow every adult who interacts with the children in 20-minute cycles, but they do not have to take into account students with developmental delays or speech impairments because they are not educators.
Speaker 21.
For
you have 30
myself,
seconds
I've
remaining.
had observers follow me so closely that when I stood for meeting with my students at eye level, I hit the observer with my head. What other educator has to go through this? There are distinguished teachers, national board teachers, Golden Apple teachers, teachers with advanced degrees who are all seeing the same trend. Lowered instructional scores. There is a flaw in this process. We have a budget deficit and you just voted to outsource this process. It is a mistake that our educators and our union was not consulted in this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next group of speakers, Alex Rodriguez, speaker number 9, Angelica Herrera, who's joining us virtually, and Mia Donahue, speaker number 26.
Good evening. Today, we are met with a unique opportunity, one that we have an obligation to fulfill and that we owe to our students and their families. Our students do not deserve to be homeless, nor do they deserve to continue to have disinvestment within their communities and schools. I was born, raised, and currently live on Chicago's Northwest Side in Belmont-Cragen. From February of 2022 to March of this year, the total number of STLS students more than doubled. Since December alone, we have had an increase of 145 more STLS students. These are trends that are continuing all over the city in Black and brown neighborhoods. In my first year of teaching in CPS, I had the privilege of working with students in one of the schools in my neighborhood. I worked very closely with my students to develop relationships with them, and day in and day out, I saw a similar trend. Those same STLS students were struggling the most, socially, emotionally, and academically. In my years of teaching in CPS, I've had my students share stories with me of their families being evicted, having to live with family members, sleeping on living room floors, and being hungry because their family had to decide whether to put food on the table or pay their rent. These stories are just some of the many challenges our students face today. How can we possibly believe that students can reach their full potential when they don't have a stable place to live that they can call home? The problem is that the expectations continuously remain the same. Our district can continue to announce various initiatives and plans for student outcomes, but until we solve the issue of homelessness, we can't feasibly expect our students to worry more about a grade than their livelihood and well-being.
Seconds remaining.
Many school districts across the country today provide homeless support to their students that are in their union's bargaining contracts, such as Los Angeles, Oakland, and Boston, to name a few. These ideas are not something new, and as a district, we are behind when it comes to this. We are asking that the city fund affordable housing units near sustainable community schools, that the board and the city of Chicago partner to create new affordable housing units to prioritize CPS students and their families, offer wraparound services that benefit our newcomer students and their families, provide rental assistance to families by partnering with the city and Cook County, and convert vacant school buildings into affordable housing. We are asking that the board bargain with our union in good faith on these issues so our students can receive the housing and resources that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Angelica Herrera, speaker number 22, is joining us virtually. Please enter *6 to unmute.
Good evening, President Yanan Shai and members of the board, CEO Martinez and Ciro Chacombuba. Firstly, I want to express my sincere appreciation for your leadership within our school district. Your dedication to our school has not gone unnoticed, and we are truly grateful for all that you do. However, today I come to you as a parent with a pressing concern regarding the funding situation at Peck Elementary STEM School. We are facing significant budget cuts for the school year 24-25. And I am deeply concerned about the potential repercussions these cuts will have on the Peck community. The reduction in funding lacks fairness and does not align with the genuine needs of our students. Peck has become a cornerstone of our community, offering numerous programs that families have come to rely on. Any interruption to our current plan to provide an equitable learning experience for our kids will undoubtedly lead to disastrous outcomes. Peck School has 2 campuses and serves almost 800 students as a Title I school. We should be receiving a minimum of $769,000 from the federal government to support supplemental government programs and services for our students. Unfortunately, these funds are not currently allocated within our budget framework, and kindly request the reinstatement to ensure the continuation of vital programs. In order to balance this new budget, our principal has had to cut the following positions: 3 full-time nurse, 3 teacher assistants, a STEM specialist, and our case manager was reduced from full-time to part-time. Additionally, a large amount of non-payroll funds were cut from non-payroll lines as well as
Speaker
from
22,
after-school
you have
buckets.
30 seconds remaining.
We are asking for your support to reinstate these funds. Furthermore, this discontinuation of the roughly $150,000 a year in community school initiative funds next year poses a significant threat to our ability to maintain educational excellence and support to all the students. This school will no longer be able to provide before and after school programming or learning opportunities in the summer. We are not asking for additional funds, but rather advocating to retain current allocations and positions that have sustained us in recent years. Your support in reinstating these funds and positions is vital for
Speaker
the
number
well-being and
22, please
success of
conclude your
children and
remarks.
families. In closing, I want to extend my gratitude for your time and understanding. We value the leadership you bring to our district and hope that you will take our concerns into consideration and act swiftly to restore the needed funding and positions to Peck Elementary STEM School. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is 26, Mia Donahue.
Hi, my name is Mia Donahue. I'm a mother of 3 children who attend Newfield Elementary School on Chicago's far north side. I'm also the LSC president there, and I am here on representation of LSC, the BAC, and the PAC in follow-up to a letter that was sent to the board in December of 2023. Requests for strategic and collaborative approach to welcoming newcomers in CPS. At that time, in the fall of the school year, we had a large number of newcomers, and Newfield as an elementary school has always welcomed, through all the years that we've been in operation, lots of newcomers into our very diverse neighborhood and have years of expertise in welcoming. And we would like to say that we welcome with open arms these newcomers, but it was a challenge on our community. And we sent a letter to the board requesting 2 things. One was funding, of course, and the other was a strategic plan to move forward for how we would approach this as a centralized unit in CPS. Fortunately, the new funding model does support neighborhood schools like Newfield under the Opportunity Index, and we will see more support for at the neighborhood school, both current residents and current students, as well as
Speaker 26, you have 30 seconds remaining.
as well as what the future holds. The other ask that we would like to see is a more collaborative approach, a centralized approach to welcoming newcomers and building off the experiences of schools like Newfield, who have lots of experience in this area, and the flexibility to allow for additional resources to be spread throughout multiple neighborhood schools who do this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker, William Go, speaker number 10, who is joining us virtually. Please enter *6 to unmute.
Hello, I'm William Guo, spelled G-U-O. Today, I stand before you to address a significant discrepancy between the reported and actual gains in student achievement, specifically from the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, IAR, and the analysis provided by an independent study conducted by Harvard and Stanford. Upon independently analyzing the original data, I confirmed Dr. Alvarez's conclusions and found alarming discrepancies. The Chicago Public Schools claim that not only are they the leader of the COVID recovery among large school districts, but that students are performing better now than before the pandemic is not supported by actual data. Let me highlight a noteworthy anomaly. From 2022 to 2023, Black students reportedly gained nearly 2 years worth of reading proficiency. That is an achievable goal with the correct investment and policy changes, but not an accurate finding. Simple algebra will allow one to disprove the improbable claims being made by CPS. To believe the numbers from the project will be to accept that CPS students lost over 2.5 times more learning from 2017 to 2019 than they lost from the pandemic by 2022. CPS only reported a difference between 2 very specific time periods and ignored all other data that conflicted with their inflated claims. While students did improve from 2022 to 2023, it's not to the extent claimed. A simple comparison of the project data suggests CPS test scores decreased as CPS pre-pandemic spending increased. This too is not supported by actual IAR data. There are a number of technical problems that likely contributed to these inaccurate reports. We plan to prepare a publication to address them and suggest best practices. Cooperation from CPS would improve these outcomes and benefit the
Speaker
district
number
and
10, you have
students
30
by
seconds
avoiding
remaining.
mistakes that stem from false assumptions. The proposed budget is founded on these blatantly incorrect assumptions, and there's a pressing need for greater transparency regarding past expenditures and future projected funding. It is concerning that such gross errors in analysis are evident, raising questions about the accuracy and integrity of CPS leadership. In light of these findings, I urge this esteemed board to undertake a thorough review of its educational policies, budgetary practices, and data analysis procedures. We owe it to our students, parents, and the community to ensure that every decision we make is grounded in accurate information and serves the best interests of our learners. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Mary Naku, speaker number 12.
Hello, board members. I just want to quick highlight Ms. Brown. I met her for the first time when her son was in 3rd grade. And to see her come here in October again, please connect with that. I know Alderman Harris, I do appreciate you raising that as well. So it's hard to see something 10 years later and connected. I want to first introduce myself as a 11th year educator here in Chicago and now working in the network. I'm in the Humboldt Park community. I also am a newly elected community member of the LSC of Sabin. And now I'm a property taxpayer out in Humboldt Park of the 26th Ward. And I say that with pride because the number one thing that I'm trying to elevate is the community voice through two-way communication. And so I want to bring up simply 2 asks, make it very simple today. I know you have a long evening, which is simply to learn from Principal Macklin and Alderman Harris about coalition building and what the power of coalition building can do. My first ask is simply to provide a summary report of all of these CPS community forums in which we are holding the voices of the community accountable in this strategic plan. Please provide a summary report so that we can be able to be part of the process. The second is to have an increased conversation in these forums for a two-way conversation. So that way it's not simply a report, but we're walking away feeling heard, understood, and even excited about what is to come. There's a lot of fear right now. There's a lot of not knowing and uncertainty, and we're simply asking for
Speaker
a
number
two-way
12, you have 30 seconds
conversation.
remaining.
And so please include in transparency. You've made yourself available, and I know that it's not easy doing this work for free and showing up all over across Chicago. What we're asking for is please elevate the voices of our community, report it, and that way we'll go into the next school year knowing that we're part of the process, not simply the products of the process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Jacqueline Oval, speaker number 13.
All right, good afternoon, Chicago Public Schools Board.
Good afternoon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good afternoon.
Hi. Oh, hi, good afternoon. My name is Jackie Ovalle, and I am an English Learner Network Specialist with the Office of Language and Cultural Education. We are one department within OLCE, and we've decided to join efforts alongside our colleagues who are also petitioning to be part of the Chicago Teachers Union. Because we are groups that are actively supporting all students in CPS and aspire for a collective voice and the protection of a union at a citywide level. A little bit of our role. So as specialists, we each have about 30 to 60 plus schools within a network, including the ISP schools that are geographically in that area. We also have specialists who are part of the charter and option school, both at the elementary school and high school level. Our main focus is multilingual education. We focus on the programming, the instruction, and the advocacy piece. And just numbers alone, we have about 86,535 active ELs currently in CPS. That's 26.3%. We have 18,366 ELs with IEPs, and that's 20.8%. We have 27,758 long-term ELs currently, in addition to having over 17,000 students who are newcomers that we welcomed in CPS. Our demands range from district demands, department demands, network chiefs, our own chief, and also principals and other key stakeholders. We know this is a high demand right now, and it has been.
Speaker number 13, you have 30
We want
seconds
to attract and retain talented staff to support ELPTs, or bilingual coordinators, and school leaders who support and advocate for ELs at the school level to develop and strengthen equitable bilingual programs that are required by law. We know that bilingual education and dual language will be a large component of CTU and CPS contract negotiations, and my colleagues and I want to be a part of that important collaboration with our fellow educators. I am here to ask the board and CPS to expedite the recognition of our title and dozens of other employees who are seeking union membership. Again, we are all advocating for equity for all of our students, and we want to be part of that
Speaker number
collective that
13,
promotes
please
social
conclude.
justice in order to achieve educational justice, build community, and work collaboratively and effectively. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Could you send those demands to the board and your comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next group of speakers are from Acero School. Speaker number 14, Yvette Esparza, and speaker number 20, Sandy Guzman.
Good evening, President Chi, CEO Martinez, and distinguished board members. I am Yvette Esparza, the Directora of Community Affairs and Advocacy at the Acero Charter Schools. I am a first-generation Latina college graduate, proud to serve our community every day. I began my career at Acero Schools in 2017 as the Dean of Students and Culture at Acero Garcia High School, one of our campus. From there, I collaborated with our network enrollment team as a high school enrollment lead, working directly with communities to recruit scholars and promote Acero high schools. Acero Schools is a proud partner of the Unidos US, the largest Hispanic civil rights and advocacy organization. Through this partnership, we offer programs like Padres Comprometidos, Digital Skills for Life, Cultivando Mentes Brillantes, that are aimed at fostering strong school-parent connections, teaching digital skills and understanding diverse learning styles. Additionally, we are launching Civics for All to bridge the civic engagement gap among our families. Since 2019, we have graduated over 500 parents from these initiatives. Furthermore, we facilitate the Escalera program under the Unidos US program, a high school initiative empowering students to develop leadership skills, gain college and career insights, enhance financial literacy, and explore diverse career pathways. We at Acero are
Speaker number
committed to
14, you have 30
collaborate in
seconds
the
remaining.
CPS strategic plan and ask for you to listen to our parents, caregivers, partners, students, and staff. We both have one purpose: to provide the best education and resources to our students and families. So let's work together, not apart from each other. Our charter schools matter, and I invite the board to recognize the fantastic work at charter schools like our Acero schools. Come visit a parent or student session and hear firsthand how our schools, students, and families matter to our community. Thank you, and we look forward to your visit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Sandy Guzman, speaker number 20.
Good evening, President Xi, CEO Martinez, and distinguished board members. My name is Sandy Guzman, and I'm a proud parent of a student at Victoria Soto in Acero Charter School. My son Aiden is currently a junior. My son enjoys his school, and we are proud to be a part of the Victoria Soto community. My student is a transfer student, and my experience at Victoria Soto has surpassed all of my expectations. I felt welcomed by the teachers and the leadership team. Their unwavering commitment to student success and family support is palpable, making it easy to choose Victoria Soto for my son's education. The dedication to excellence and the nurturing environment make it a truly exceptional place for learning and growth. I am very satisfied with transferring my student to Victoria Soto, as my son has formed a great school family. I am also an involved parent. I joined Padres Comprometidos at Victoria Soto to be more involved and engage with other parents. This program is a partnership with Unidos US, the largest Latino civil rights organization in the nation. My employer has been an affiliate of this organization for over 20 years. Out of nearly 300 affiliates, I am proud and honored to state that Acero Schools are the only schools in Chicago to be an affiliate of such a prestigious organization. The program focuses on strengthening relationships with their school administrators and, more importantly, with our children. I am thankful for the resources Acero and Victoria Soto provide parents like myself to aid our children's academic
Speaker number
success.
20, you have 30 seconds remaining.
We want your commitment to keep our charter schools open and provide fair funding. Our charter schools matter, and I call on the board to recognize the fantastic work at charter schools like Victoria Soto. Acero schools not only give our students an education, but also provide families with resources and services that strengthen our communities. We will be participating at your CPS strategic plan meetings, so let's work together, not apart. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Our next two speakers are regarding green schools. Speaker number 15, Jade Maison, and speaker number 24, Ann Finkel.
Hello, I'm Jade Maison. I'm a former CPS student and a mom of two CPS students. One is currently a freshman at George Washington High School on the southeast side. I'm in my fabulous 50s now, and I often consider how much our lives revolve around school and educating our children. I'm here because George Washington High School needs a new state-of-the-art green school building. Tragically, in my community, we have often not had a positive experience with just attending school. For 15 long years, we literally grew up in buildings where the water is unsafe to drink, the air is unsafe to breathe, and the classrooms are crumbling around the students. In many instances, mitigating toxins and harmful substances are such huge problems, it's overwhelming for everybody involved. For far too long, CPS students have been overlooked because far too many people in power have decided that our kids are not worthy enough to be healthy, wealthy, or wise. I say that because the infrastructure and the long overdue repairs and upgrades of CPS schools in Black and brown communities have negatively affected our children's health, brain function, confidence, and therefore earning potential. For generations, our school has been overlooked or
Speaker 15,
considered
you have 30 seconds
economic
remaining.
collateral damage, budgetary collateral damage. My family is not collateral damage. All our families deserve safe green spaces where we thrive together. I urge Chicago public school system to be a model for all public schools in our country. And this can start with funding a new green building for George Washington High School. I urge this board to remove all lead pipes and install water
Speaker
infiltration
15, please
systems.
conclude your
Correct
remarks.
the decades of disinvestment and environmental racism by equipping schools with solar panels, green career pathways, and student-run produce gardens. Improve lunches with more scratch kitchens, and most of all, collaborate and program sustainability and green spaces for schools and the families of the southeast side of Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Speaker 24, Ann Finkel.
Hi, my name is Ann Finkel. I'm a proud CTU member and middle school science teacher in Brighton Park. I'm actually speaking for housing, but I also support green schools, and the two are very related. So I am here to strongly urge the Board of Education to stand with the CTU in advocating for stable housing for our students, families, and educators. Housing conditions are learning conditions, are teaching conditions, and we are here to say that these measures do belong in the CTU contract. Too many times in my teaching career, students who have been in my classes all year, building relationships, learning important content, asking good questions, helping their classmates, they disappear from our classroom because they were priced out of their neighborhood and they had to move and change schools. And each time this happens, our community is broken and the student and their family are yanked out of their support network. The CTU is bringing many important housing demands to the bargaining table, but one I would especially like to highlight states that the board shall advocate for a city housing policy that creates affordable housing at a rate greater than or equal to the creation of market rate housing, and shall support legislative efforts to enact rent control. These are the kinds of bold policy changes we need to see in order to keep our students in their schools and communities. I've also had the privilege this year to receive newcomers from Venezuela to my classes, and these students are incredibly resilient and bring so much to our classroom community. One student in particular stops me every day after class to ask some intricate science question that he's clearly been thinking about for hours. And although with my limited Spanish, it takes the two of us going
Speaker 24, you have 30 seconds remaining.
back and forth many times, often with the help of online translations and other students interpreting. I'm so grateful and impressed that he sticks with it until I fully understand his question and he understands my answer. He's really an amazing kid. However, this student is frequently absent due to an unstable housing situation, and this is obviously having a very detrimental effect on his education. CTU is also demanding that the board, in collaboration with the union and the city of Chicago, shall adopt a comprehensive support plan for families seeking asylum, including $2,000 for each newcomer student for supports, including transportation, mental health services, and academic supports. Enshrining housing supports in teacher union contracts is not
Speaker
new.
24, please conclude your remarks.
As someone else mentioned, in fact, many cities, including Boston, St. Paul, Los Angeles, and others have already done this. So with this new contract, Chicago has a chance to not only catch up to other cities, but take the lead in doing right by our students and their families in and out of the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Liz Winfield, speaker number 19.
Hello, my name is Liz Winfield, and I'm a 25-year veteran teacher in CPS and a proud CTU member. As CEO Martinez knows, at Benito Juarez Community Academy, we are a building that is located in a largely industrial corridor in Pilsen. So you'll have things like defunct Fisk smokestack that looms over our campus. We have right next to our soccer field a brass and bronze metal foundry. And right down the street or right across the street from my classroom is a dumpster container, recycling container that smells lovely when the weather gets hot. So I'm sure that you are aware of this, CEO Martinez. These are the conditions that I like to envision in our classrooms. In the warmer months, my windows remain open until we can't deal with the smell anymore. But also we've had HVAC issues, just like so many of the CPS schools, where our old or even some of our newer HVAC systems are struggling to keep up with the climate crisis and the 90-degree weather that the curveballs are being thrown our way with. So this has led to some interesting conditions in the classroom. We have some rooms with windows like mine that have to remain closed because of outside pollution. Some places in our classroom are not, they don't have windows that open, or they have no windows at all. So this leads to dark and dank and stale air and higher than average
Speaker 19,
CO2 levels
30 seconds remaining.
and inadequate air exchange. So we are a school community beset with air quality issues. And what I'd like you to envision with CTU and to visualize along with CTU is to be a beacon and a force that's driving change for our schools. We have had some progress at Juarez. We've got outdoor spaces and air filtration or water filtration areas on the south part of our campus. We even have a solar engineering program where students learn about installing solar panels and practice installing and deinstalling them and building frames for them. But wouldn't it be great
Speaker 19.
if all of our
Please
schools
conclude your
could
remarks.
have these things that Juarez has started with? Wouldn't it be great if we could find federal funding to push these actions further? It exists, and CTU would like to help envision this and help CPS work with this for our schools and our communities. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Kimberly Hobson, speaker number 23.
Wow, they didn't want to stand behind me. Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Kimberly Hobson. I'm representing Youth Connection Charter School. I want to stand before the board and say good evening to you and thank you for your service, and thank you very much for your support of Youth Connection. Since 1997, we've been serving the city of Chicago, offering a second chance to youth who have been overlooked and who have been underserved in the city of Chicago. And so we're very proud of the work that we're doing. And so thank you very much for your continued support. I would like to read for you a passage from one of our assistant principals from Youth Connection Leadership Academy in respect to the move to the new building. We, and I stand also as a member of this school, having once been the principal and having a very affectionate connection to YCLA. And she says, with anticipation, excited anticipation, they are happy to begin a new journey to the state-of-the-art facility in the heart of their new community. And this relocation represents a significant milestone in their journey toward providing an even better education experience for our students. At the new location, they will have access.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Thank you, to a number of facilities, including science facilities as well as athletic facilities, and will offer them the opportunity to increase the capacity of their school in a permanent new home from a temporary relocation. So we thank you very much for your continued support.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Jennifer Jones, speaker number 25.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jennifer Jones. I have been a preschool teacher for more than 20 years and currently am a preschool teacher at Stowe Elementary School. I am a national board certified teacher, and I came here tonight to speak against the renewal of the National Lewis class contract, which you've already approved. Historically, I've had good class scores. Years ago, teachers had to submit their daily schedules to assure that assessors were present for whole group and small group instruction. Now, assessors show up and begin assessing when the bell rings. This year, that meant my instructional practices were assessed during breakfast, during bathroom routine, during our SEL morning meeting, and during the transition from the park to the classroom and a small portion of my read aloud. The scores from these times of day are supposedly an accurate reflection of my instructional practices. Additionally, my assessor seemed to be overbooked because when I informed her when our park time was, because they do not assess during the outdoor play, she told me that was not a problem because she'd be gone by then. That would be an hour and 15 minutes into the school day when it is mathematically impossible to do a 4-cycle assessment in less than 2 hours. After expressing my concern, she stayed and did 1 cycle, but was out of the building less than 5 minutes after completing the observation portion of the assessment. I passed my concerns to my network early childhood specialist, who assured me that I am not alone, that the coaches and the early childhood specialists have heard from teachers across multiple schools and multiple networks about the concerns over the timing that the assessors are doing their assessments, as well as the assessors' perceived need to hurry out.
Speaker 25, you have 30 seconds remaining.
I will likely, their hope is that, OEC will pass those on to the assessors, supervisors. I will likely receive coaching next year based on the scores that I received this year. And if it's anything like the experience that the colleague in the room next to me received this year, I'll get to hear such things as, I know you wouldn't normally do this because it doesn't make sense to say this or do this at this time of day or with what you're doing. Just make sure you do it when the assessors are here. So coaching has nothing to do with improving teacher performance. Class has nothing to do with improving student outcomes. What the resulting coaching that comes from my class scores is about teaching teachers how to do better on a poorly administered assessment.
Speaker 25.
If it's not about student outcomes, why are we doing this? And honestly, voting on it before you heard from us, as a preschool teacher, I can say that was a sad choice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your comments. Our next speaker is Shanella Robinson, speaker number 27.
Hey y'all. My name is Chinella. I'm an LSC parent organizer for Raise Your Hand. I'm here to highlight some of the issues stakeholders experienced during the last LSC election process and share recommendations to improve. This not gonna work for me. Thank you. I think so. Okay, thank you. Raise Your Hand is conducting a 2024 LSC election process feedback survey. Interim responses show many candidates felt the process was intimidating and confusing. This is consistent from a survey Raise Your Hand conducted after the 2020 elections. It's unacceptable to have these persistent process gaps in democracy and shows the Office of LSC Relations doesn't have the capacity or needs strong support to produce a fair and democratic LSC election process. When they don't take the process seriously, stakeholders become discouraged to participate, with many of them having a what's the point attitude. It appears some schools made up rules as they went along. Candidate forums weren't held in the correct time frame, and some student elections were held outside of the official time frame. What is this teaching our youth about democracy? Where's the accountability? We'll release more data soon, but I wanted to share some quotes. So from the 2020 survey, someone said, I heard nothing about LSCs from the city of Chicago, my alderman, or local media. From the 2024 survey, one respondent
Speaker
said,
27, you have 30 seconds remaining.
none of the aldermen in my area included it in their newsletters. Again, there's a consistent pattern of past elections. There is no advertisement or encouragement for community members to get out and vote. We have to remember community involvement and collaboration is necessary to regain the trust that CPS has lost. We're asking CPS to adopt the following community-informed recommendations and best practices. In order to have more accessible, transparent, and consistent communication for voters and candidates, we're asking for a one-stop spot where every school form and candidate statement can be found for each school. We need a more streamlined process to ensure democracy. Stakeholders expressed some
Speaker
schools-
27, please conclude your remarks.
Stakeholders expressed some schools didn't show uniform processes in regards to verifying voter eligibility, inconsistent election procedures, and confusion among the judges. LSC elections should be treated as any other Illinois election. We ask that there be an overhaul of election coordinator and judge training, and we ask that you consult the Chicago Board of Elections for best practices and trainings and allow trusted grassroots organizations the opportunity to recruit and train election judges. Thank you.
Thank you.
For your comments.
Ms. Robinson, can you please send the data once you have it? Thank you.
And our last speaker from the speakers list is speaker number 28, Al Southers.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Al Southers, and I am a guest teacher with CPS. I visited dozens of schools throughout the district. I am here out of love, but grave concern about the lack of affordable housing in the city, how it impacts the quality of a child's education, and what I believe are the best solutions. A brief story. I guest taught at Talcott Elementary and encountered a student who was homeless. We'll call him Jay. Oftentimes, he'd come to school unbathed and wore the same clothes for days. I asked him what was going on. He told me his parents were not able to pay the rent in their West Town community apartment. They were eventually evicted. As a result, Jay experienced what sociologists have termed hypermobility, or when a child moves more than 6 times during their childhood. As an 8th grader, he moved constantly. If he was not couch surfing with strangers, Jay was bouncing around between shelters. There are over 24,000 students living in temporary situations, or as we call it in CPS, STLS. These students, just like Jay, did not have a permanent place to sleep at night. Jay eventually flunked out of school. What happened to him is an atrocity. We failed Jay. It's time to step up and right what is wrong. We need affordable housing ASAP. The Board of Education should provide unbridled support for CTU's housing solutions
Speaker 28, you have
in
30
its
seconds
2024
remaining.
contract proposal. We need to access tax increment funding and create affordable housing that prevents homelessness. Also, we need to provide transitional spaces for CPS students that are in between homes. Jay and every student similar to him deserves a place to shower, eat, and sleep. If not, we will lose too many of our gifted students to these streets, and we always know what happens to them. Do the right thing and follow the CPS proposal, excuse me. CTU proposal.
Thank you.
So many, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I was just told that speaker number 30 has arrived.
Good evening. I'm not sure why I was overlooked.
Good
I
evening.
want to acknowledge all participants and guests. I want to thank President Shi and the entire CPS board for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Camille Ivy, and I am the principal of YCLA, Youth Connection Leadership Academy. We are happy today to show our support for the relocation of our school. We have been utilizing an old and outdated school building that has given us many problems. This was an emergency temporary fix, and we had issues from plumbing to our boiler completely breaking down during winter months. My students and staffs were so dedicated that they still came to school every day ready to learn. This relocation will be more of a permanent solution to a facility problem that we currently face. The new location is close to transportation, it's newly refurbished, it's spacious for YCLA to expand our enrollment and other programs we wish to implement. YCLA plans to build relationships with community businesses and partners so our students can have more opportunities for their post-secondary goals. Many parents and students support this move and have stated that they will remain enrolled with us as they have before. Our alderman is constantly visited by our students, Alderman Lopez, and actually Alderman David Moore was our last year's commencement speaker for our graduation. Our alternative school have brought many siblings, cousins, and even children back to graduate from the same high school that they graduated. YCLA has taken students to our
Speaker number 30, you have 30 seconds remaining.
I'm sorry. We have WIOA, a job readiness program housed right in our school where 100% of its participants pass certifications and land internships, and about 54% get hired for permanent employment. And this is sometimes their first job. We have already started recruiting in this area and reaching out to businesses to build a new partnership. So again, I thank you for even listening to us and supporting our relocation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. President Shi, this concludes public participation.
Thank you. Board members, any comments or questions related to public participation?
I just a reminder that anyone who did not have a chance to finish their comments or wants to submit their comments in writing to please do so that we can see the full comments.
Thank you. So this concludes public participation. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone. See you, Mary.
Thank you.
Bye.